What's up, guys? Tambo here with your Week 3 core report. It was another huge week for Run Pure members, as once again, our logos were all over the leaderboard. I myself actually kicked things off, hitting for 38K on the Thursday NFL Showdown slate, and then once again with another 35K on the PGA slate for President's Cup. You can catch all my core plays and attack plan for every NFL slate, as well as for PGA, available to premium members on RunPureSports.com. You Kill Bill Walsh followed up, nailing his CFB core plays for the second week in a row. Shout out to GoBoys18 for hitting over $7,500 on the Friday DK CFB slate. On the NFL main slate, the man shipped big yet again with a $105,000 hit on DraftKings. But once again, it was one of Big T's cores that broke the slate on Monday Night Football. Big T made the unique call of plugging kicker Graham Gano in at captain, opening up salary to load up on studs for a projected low total game. Tony actually called his shot earlier in the day on our free NFL Showdown show.
What does a kicker have to score to get you there if you play him in the captain, Tony?
I mean, I think to like full ship, you would need 5+ field goals. But in a game like this, you could get 5+ field goals.
By the way, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, what the hell are you thinking? It's free. Just click the red subscribe button on our channel or the bottom right corner of our videos. Big T's strategy paid off big time, shipping literally all the money on DraftKings. Tony won over $280K himself, but he was not alone. RPS members chopped the top prize in the DraftKings Millie Maker, including JCOM turned $70 into $7K. Derek Bowe turned $45 into over $10K. B-Wall-Show5 did the exact same thing. BP Consi turned $90 into over $10K. Jeffy B123, Noon7, MBY Littell 1928, Armed Rogery, Hard Work 24/7, and DSF Dom all joined in, hitting over $10K each. Jay Gingery turned $245 into over $12K. Gators S070, Master 24, and APOC 14 hit for $13K each. Guy Nation Matt Guy shipped over $20,000. Hayla Made himself hit for $20,000 as well. Uncle T even got in on the action, shipping over $27,000. And Rubio's core plays and playbook nailed the game script too, and he joined in on the fun, hitting for over $19,000 himself. I cannot stress enough the benefits of being a member at Run Pure Sports. All it takes is one night like this, and it can set you up for the entire season. And we give you guys the tools and content to make it happen. Head on over to RunPureSports.com to check out all our premium options, including SaberSim packages, and we'll see your screenshots in the Discord soon. Until next week, good luck in your contest, and let's keep running pure. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka Toe Tag and Tambo. We're back, baby. It's power season. Appreciate you guys last week. I know I had to miss the show. I apologize. No power, but it's back. Back with my guys, AP, JT Hayes, talk all things week 4, off the chalk. Do us a favor on that way in. Hit that like button. I did love to see that. All my boys came through. All of you guys came through. 500-600 likes. That was incredible. But now we need to do it all again. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Let's get into this. AP, week 4, we were talking pre-show. I know you're pretty excited. No Mahomes on the slate, so the people are going to get the realest AP takes of all time. No homer, no bias. What's up, AP? How you doing this week, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I will find a way to talk about Mahomes and the Chiefs this morning, because that's what we do. We talk about them. We got a fantastic game tonight. And, but, you know, it's a showdown slate, so it is what it is. But I got the Gatorade Zero. I'm ready to go, ready to get hydrated. Good morning, fellas. Let's dive in. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. JT Hayes, my man. I know you're wide awake. What's going on over there? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I mean, it's just fantastic here in Atlanta. We're going to send the Mets limping the fuck home with a nice 2-game deficit here after we smash Chris Bassett tonight. Couldn't be happier about that. But first, I got a 12-game slate. My wife said last night, she said, hey, listen, we're going to the game tonight, so I don't think I can start drinking at 1 o'clock when the NFL games start. I said, that's fine. I'll start drinking at home. We'll go out at 4 o'clock, watch the late games. It's going to be great. Very excited for this slate.
And I love that. And you, my friend, congratulations. You have a little bit more bankroll to work with for this slate. Saw the big W the other night. You said getting back off the schneid, get that 20K in your pocket. Congrats on that. Let's use it. Let's put it to good use here. Let's dive right in. Gonna go as always like we do, guys, position by position, talk about the chalk, how we can get off of it. Already the quickest, I think that's the quickest 100 likes we ever got. So we're going for 500 again. Let's get to 200 quick. Also, want to keep it a little bit more interactive this week. You know the theme of the show is off the chalk. So do me a favor while we dive in, throw in some running backs that you think are the biggest chalk plays this week, and we'll make sure we cover them all. We're going to start, though, AP, with you with quarterback. Pretty obvious here what we got going on, right? We've got that Buffalo-Baltimore game. I know there's a little bit of a scare when it comes to weather. You're hearing the weather on that game, the Philly-Jacksonville game, the New York Giants-Chicago game, but I don't think it's getting people off Josh Allen here. So let's start with him. We got Allen, Hurts, and actually Marcus Mariota, which I'm sure JT Hayes will have some thoughts there as Atlanta guys. But go ahead, AP. Talk to us about this quarterback position, what you're seeing there.
Yeah, really interesting week. I mean, obviously the spot is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen obviously being the more popular option between the two, despite Lamar Jackson absolutely smashing in back-to-back weeks. So, I mean, if you want to get different in tournaments right there, just, get more Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen. I do think it's a really interesting tournament slate. We were talking before the show. I'm all in on MME this week. One of the reasons why is because with all of this value out there, with all of the injuries that we're dealing with, you're going to see optimizers want to just overstack, jam in these, you're going to see these punt receivers out there, that allow you to get up to Josh Allen, allow you to get to Lamar Jackson. While I think a guy like Justin Herbert, a full bet on talent type of play here, because they're dealing with a ton of injuries. Justin Herbert on the road here against the Texans with a nice implied team total right around 26 points. I love Justin Herbert in this spot. You can pair him right there with Mike Williams, who also is going overlooked. And so that alone, Herbert plus Williams, is a nice pivot off of Josh Allen to Steph Diggs. That's going to be a very popular combination this week. So I'm not saying I'm fading Josh Allen and Steph Diggs at all. I have them so I just made a big update to the heat map. Allen Diggs is right there, but I could make a change as I'm talking myself through this. I mean, if you truly, in the Millie Maker type format, you see Josh Allen is projected to be right around 12 to 15% owned. You see Lamar Jackson projected to be half of that. I mean, the obvious move there is to bump up Lamar Jackson and get more shares of him. So up top, though, for me, I think my highest guy, and I think I'm running about 4 main quarterbacks this week. I don't know if I'll be able to get to 5. But my highest right now is Justin Herbert. I just love how I can stack this game up. The thing we saw last week, this Chargers defense is without multiple key pieces. Justin Herbert hopefully is feeling a little bit better. I know Chase Daniels was thought Missouri was going to win last night, was tweeting saying he'd cover the bar tab for maybe he was out drinking, who knows? Probably not. But we can play off that narrative that Justin Herbert hopefully with a week, extra right there for the ribs to repair a little bit. Maybe he's feeling real good, and they got to get it done here. So I like this as a sneaky shootout here with the Chargers and the Texans, and I think it's going a little bit overlooked in tournaments. So up top, Justin Herbert's my favorite guy.
Yeah, love everything you're saying there, guys. 160 quick likes, going to be our fastest 200 ever. Hit that like button. JT Hayes is going to dive in for us with his quarterback conversation. JT Hayes, talk to us about all the same. And then Marcus Mariota looking like the highest value quarterback at $5,600. Thoughts there as well.
Yeah. Let me save that for last. Thoughts on Mariota here. But it is interesting with all the elite Russian quarterbacks priced up. I mean, except for Kyler, the other 3 over 8K. And I mean, I think that weather game in Baltimore actually makes it a little bit more interesting for those quarterbacks, because if you think, hey, there's going to be sustained wins, you're then going to look at 2 teams that are going to rush the ball. You've got 2 elite Russian quarterbacks. So I think Jackson and Allen are fine. I like Herbert. I like Herbert's talent a lot. I just worry that he's one hit away from, IR for 6 weeks. And I don't know how much that rib is healed. Now, Houston's defense doesn't really scare you. They're not the type of team to worry about like that. But going back to the question about Marcus Mariota, I mean, everybody loves this guy. And if you want 17 fantasy points, fantastic. That's wonderful. We said this last week on this slate. Geno Smith against the Falcons. Oh, we can't play Geno Smith. Can't possibly play Geno Smith. He sucks. He's terrible. And he got 22 fantasy points. And guess what? The Falcons are playing another team this week that, guess what? Have a fucking quarterback. I said last week, doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, whatever it is, play the opposing quarterback against the Falcons this week. Jacoby Brissett, 5.5K on DraftKings if you want to get off of the elite rushing quarterbacks. And look, you're going to say the same thing, right? Brissett, he's terrible, he sucks. 20-plus passing attempts over his first several games this season, and 9 rushes, 54 yards. This is a team that gives it up on the ground. They give it up through the air. I'm not going to go all in, of course, but I will have some Jacoby Brissett, and at least one of my main teams will have a Brissett to one of his receivers stack. We'll talk about that guy coming up in a bit.
Yeah, and I like that call. I guess there's a few things that are prevailing for me, and I'll talk through it for myself. But one, the weather in Buffalo, Baltimore, I don't care. I'll wait for it and see. I seriously just don't care. I'm still playing those guys. They don't throw bombs. They are very accurate. Lamar's been more accurate than people think. Obviously, Allen is one of the most accurate in the NFL. The guys that they're throwing to are short passes. Mark Andrews, Diggs, Davis, those types of guys that can then go do work with the ball. So that doesn't scare me away. If anything, hopefully it holds it in check. I loved what AP said earlier about you can get overweight on both of them, but if you want to just get a little bit different, we've seen this in games in the past where the quarterbacks, you just rotate them. In this case, they're $100 apart. Any lineup that you have Josh Allen in can just become Lamar Jackson. So if you want that, you can do that as well. I'm playing both of those guys. I like Herbert with you. I know our guy Jack in the chat said Chargers O-line is bad, Texans pass rush, sneaky good. Herbert already banged up on the road, no Keenan Allen. Those are all things that make me love him more. That just means he's got to get the ball out. Guys like Everett, Mike Williams, Palmer, all those guys, he can just hit on these short passes. They're without their left tackle, which usually would be scary as well. Eckler, another one. I'm just saying I like those shorter passes in the dome. And that's the other thing about this slate, wind, weather versus domes. So what I'm doing is Allen, Lamar, and Herbert heavy. And then I'm sprinkling those guys. Like even what JT Hayes said, I'm getting after these spots like Cleveland, Atlanta, like Seattle, Detroit. And I don't care as much because I'm not going to need as much of those guys that are 2 or 3% owned. Can't get as heavy on Mariota. I'm with you. I'd rather try the other side with, I think, the same guy you're talking about that we're going to talk about in a little bit here. I love him this week. So I'm doing basically the same thing there. The last thing I will say, and AP, I'm going to come back to you in a second for anything else, and then running back. But this is where I think the biggest edge on this slate comes from. And just thinking about it from this perspective, all the cheap quarterbacks can be correlated easily. It all looks awesome. You fill it out, but there is so many value plays on this slate. We're going to talk about them at running back. We're going to talk about them at wide receiver, et cetera, that there's room to get those expensive quarterbacks. And if there is such a delta with the expensive quarterbacks we talked about, Lamar, Allen, and with Herbert, and going down, you can put Hurts in there if you want. Weather aside, he runs it a bunch too. Getting those cheap quarterbacks just basically forces you into some of these higher priced plays that you don't even seem to love. You just have the money to spend now. So I would keep that in mind. And I'm trying to get the money in at quarterback. That's where I want to spend. I know there's a little bit of chalk there, but I'm okay with it. And it'll be similar at running back. AP, any final thoughts on quarterback from everything I just said or anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so Daniel in chat was asking, do you like Justin Herbert plus Mike Williams and Josh Palmer? And actually, I don't. I'm not going to. So, I want to separate those two because I think it's going to be like a Mike Williams game, or you go Josh Palmer. Like I could see going like Austin Eckler, Josh Palmer, Justin Herbert. So I've created a bunch of groups there where I'm separating out some of these pieces. Like what we see when these Mike Williams games, when he goes off, it's Herbert's just locking onto him. And I think that's what we're going to see today. And I mean, look, this team's banged up. It's a bet on talent for me. How this team has a full week now to prepare. Again, things are going to jive a little bit. And I think it's going to be something where it's like Herbert to Mike Williams. And then, hopefully they get Austin Eckler worked in too. I think Austin Eckler is another really interesting play. But to finish up quarterback for me, I do have interest in Marcus Mariota. in stacks there. I think that game is really, I mean, not sneaky, but I think it's one where we could see some nice scoring, mainly due to like the Brown. We have injuries on the Browns defense, their D line. They're not going to get much pressure there. So I mean, Mariota should have plenty of time. Who knows what he can do with it? But he's got two capable guys in Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Last week I was on Kyle Pitts. Man, he was close to breaking the slate. We got JT Hayes over here shaking his head. No, I mean, you're playing Brissett when I'll take actually, I'm not going to go there because someone was making fun of our boy JT Hayes last week, and it did not work out too well.
That's
for
why
that
he was
person,
licking his
so I don't want
chops
to go
there
down
saying,
that.
do it again,
road.
AP, do it again.
It's not. It wasn't Mariota. It was Kyle Pitts, because it's one of the more frustrating situations in the NFL. I mean, people think that the situation with Denver and Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams is frustrating. How they cannot figure out a way, especially now you think they have Drake London, who looks like he's a real top-tier NFL talent. It would be easier, right, to get Pitts open now that you have another threat. And I'm just disgusted with the way that Arthur Smith has failed to game plan for these guys. Now, some of that might be because you've got Marcus Mariota throwing them the ball. The offensive line still isn't all that good. So it's not Mariota. I think, like I said, you can play Mariota. I would take the under of 20 fantasy points for Mariota all day long in any matchup, just because at the end of the game, usually he's going to find a way to throw it away.
And that's what I was saying too. Like, again, I have no problem with it. I get why people are doing it because it's so easy to stack. We look through all these quarterbacks every week and stacks, and we sit there and say, like, oh, but he has this option, that option, and those options. It makes it tough to stack. With Mariota, that's not the case. Mariota, London, Pitts, run it back. We're going to wait, by the way. We're going to segue to running back in a second anyway, but still no final news on Cordarrelle Patterson, game time decision, but probable. But they're saying they still want to see in warmups now. This morning, the earliest tweet that came out was like, we'll wait and see in warmups. They brought up Caleb Huntley. They have Tyler Algier. They have other guys there. So that is an interesting piece, but it's easy to stack. But what I'm saying is once you go there and then you run it back with a Cleveland guy who's going to be cheap, or even if you go to Chubb, who, by the way, I think this is Chubb's first game back in Atlanta, right? He's from Georgia, played for Georgia, like goes back there. That could be a good little narrative season right there with everyone on Barkley. AP, we're going there in a second anyway. But just to say that, it's like then you are forced into a construction where, I don't know, if you love all these higher priced guys, go that way. But I think if you like the value plays and think they are actually value plays that you can play, then you are better off to get to like an Allen or a Lamar or a Herbert with the Williams, like stack up what you actually want there. And lastly, JT, I want to stay with you for 1 second before we go to running back. Just the Jalen Hurts conversation. I know you were, saying something about it on the way into the show today. People are asking though, right? Are you off him? Whether, what are your thoughts on him? Because he still is part of this chalk as of right now. At least he's looking like one of the top 3 owned.
Yeah. First, let me comment on your overall roster construction point that you're making, which is something that, as I was looking at pricing this week, I was like, one, it looks like a high scoring week just because pricing is inefficient. But two, to your point, I don't love a lot. Like there's no, I think Devontae Adams is the highest priced receiver on the slate here. So you really don't have a lot of spend ups. You do have some at running back, which we'll get to here. But my thought on this Eagles-Jaguars game, I know people are talking about what if the Jaguars are really good? I think it was in one of the tweet threads that you put out, the tidbits, which I think is fantastic. Don't miss that any week if you're out there watching right now.
At Toe Tag and Tambo on Twitter. Thanks, JT Hayes. Appreciate it.
Usually drops on Fridays. And I love reading it just because it's so many different viewpoints around the industry. And someone in there was saying, what if the Jags are good? Well, two things can be true. The Jags can be good, and this can be their second game on the road coming off of a big win in Los Angeles, and it's a perfect letdown spot. And in that environment, even with a Jalen Hurts, but at that price now, I think it's 8-2 on DraftKings, you've got to have this be a back and forth affair. Philly's defense has looked pretty good. There's some weather there. That's going to impact how this Jaguars offense is able to move the ball too. So that's why I rank Hurts below Jackson, Allen, and potentially even Kyler Murray in a matchup against Carolina. The only problem there is he's on the road.
Yeah, I like that call. Jags, will spoiler alert for later because sometimes we have to rush D in the end. We get there, but $2,300 to the Jags D, not because I think they are #good as it said in the thread, but more so just because even if you believe that, even better. But if you don't, it's just a hedge on your lineups. If you're already not playing guys from that game, what's the issue with plugging them in for $2,300? I've got no problem with that. Said it like 6 times now, AP, so I'll actually come to you. Let's talk running back. We've got Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Saquon Barkley. Very clear-cut top 3 ownership guys. That's your cash games. You just plug those 3 in and move on with a bunch of Detroit guys. Pick your quarterback up top or Mariota and move on. There's cash covered. Let's talk off the chalk. We're playing tournaments here, AP. What are your thoughts on these 3 running backs? What do you feel about Herbert, Williams, and Barkley? And then anybody else you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, they are very good plays due to the projected workload that they're going to get. But we talk about it, we see it every week. Just because on paper they're a good play, you got to think about what's their path to failure. Starting with Saquon Barkley, man, one, that this line he's running behind is not good. However, on the other side, he's going to go up against one of the worst defensive lines and linebacker crew that the Bears have. So when you look at what he did against the Cowboys last week, it was one big run that he busted. That really got him there. However, the opportunity is going to be there, and you have to think, man, there's a high chance that he could absolutely, of the 3, he could be the guy that absolutely breaks it. So I do have a ton of interest in Saquon Barkley. Jamal Williams, again, the guy looks like an absolute stud. Curious to see kind of, his involvement in the pass catching game, something that we haven't seen as much in the past. And then Khalil Herbert, obviously, right there, 5.7K. He's going to find his way into a lot of builds. So a couple things, a couple ways to tackle this. I think it was Mangone, speaking of threads, in Mangone's thread that he put out there. One thing you could do is create a group. SaberSim, they made a huge update to their simulator, and you can basically create a group where it wouldn't allow these 3 guys to play against each other. So that's something I've been considering as well, mainly because we have many other really good options that I think are going a little bit overlooked. You talked about one of them, Nick Chubb, 7.9K. He's going to fly under the radar today. And I think it's JT Hayes that always talks about streaming running backs against this Falcons team. We know Nick Chubb can absolutely break a slate. Sure. Is there vulture, can Kareem Hunt vulture him, for touchdowns? Yeah, we see it all the time. However, he does have that 152 touchdown type of upside, and that would definitely break a slate like this one. So I have a ton of interest in Nick Chubb. I have a ton of interest also in Austin Eckler. I talked about him a little bit earlier. I just like that game. I do think he's a guy that's going to get talked up a little bit. I have interest in Najee Harris at 6.7 here, the Steelers. I love the Steelers defense, and I want that correlation running back to defense. And so Najee Harris right there, maybe a guy that gets steamed up a little bit. I'm really torn on anytime we get a week like this, we see the 3 running back build be one that's very popular, and it seems like it rarely ever pans out. Maybe this is the week, maybe not. But one thing we could also do to get a little bit different is eliminate that build and go all in on 4 wide receivers. So that's another thing that I'm considering in multi-entry formats. Running back is stacked this week, absolutely stacked, especially up top. Jonathan Taylor, I talked about him on the Wednesday show. I've come off him a little bit, but I've really kind of started coming back on, just because as you talk through it with all of these options, these popular options, you can't play them all. And what that's going to do is it's going to dilute ownership just a little bit. So Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, 2 really nice ways to get off of Saquon Barkley. And then you could go Najee Harris if you want to get off of Khalil Herbert, or off of who's the other Jamal Williams. Yeah, Jamal Williams. So I'm not saying fade any of those guys. I'm saying what you want is find ways, use the rules in your optimizer, whichever one you use, and create some rules, create some grouping rules there. And that's going to be one way to get different in a sharp way.
Yeah, I like that. Guys, this is the moment we got to pause for 2 seconds. 750 watching, 240 likes. It's power season. It's back. I'm back. We're used to getting to 500 likes on this show. We got to do it again. So 3 things. Hit the like button. If you can type, you can like. It's right there. 2, it's free. And 3, we'll get back to it. JT Hayes coming to you, running back. What do we got, man? What are you doing up top with these guys? Herbert, Williams, and Barkley.
Yeah, I'll start with Williams. I mean, what a significant downgrade for the Detroit Lions offense. You lose like the best receiver in the history of the NFL, Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know that. You lose then Swift, and now you're down the number 2 wide receiver, DJ Shark. So, I mean, to me, I'm not looking at who's filling in for them. I'm looking at the fucking Seattle defense. I mean, you've got Jared Goff and a bunch of nobodies. So I worry here about Jamal Williams, especially if he's going to be very high owned on this slate. And so I think for me, I'm very close to saying, no, I'm just going to fade Williams at higher ownership. AP made the point. There's a lot of very interesting pivots here. Herbert, I think I'm fine with at 5-7, just because, I mean, if that offense is going to do anything, it's going to have to come on the ground. The Giants defense is probably about league average here, but it's not a play that I love. It's not a play that I'm saying, oh, this is a good offense with just one piece missing, and they're playing a really terrible defense. That is the case for the Chargers, and that's why I think Austin Eckler is a very good play here this week. I don't know. I think he's going to come in lower owned, it looks like, projected at least, than Saquon and some of these other guys. So I like him. You guys were talking about Nick Chubb. The price on Nick Chubb is up there now, and it's really more of a 50-50 split. This is not like a Kareem Hunt comes in on third down. This is they're playing both of these running backs about half the time. And so when you look at Hunt at 6K, when the Falcons defense gives up so many yards to running backs through the air coming out, those dump offs, I like it. Brissett, Hunt, you add in that wide receiver, Tambo, that when we get to 500 likes, we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But there's one other running back. I mentioned him last week. I played him last week in one of my main teams. He did have, I think it was 16 rushes. He didn't get there, but they ended up having a trailing game script. And now, guess what? I talked about the Seattle defense. Rashad Penny is still 4.9K. Travis Homer back to the IL. That's going to mean a few more snaps for him. And the last guy that I'll mention, we've been talking about it, and I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, that running back split in Denver. Well, it looks like based on the last 2 weeks that Javonte Williams, the snap count, it's now going 2/3 Williams, 1/3 Gordon. He gets the Raiders. This is a good spot to take a chance on Javonte Williams.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me because I don't know if you guys saw this. AP, did you see any love for Josh Jacobs? I'm struggling with understanding this one. Like the ownership on different sites are so far apart, but on some of the bigger sites, he looks like he's higher owned. I just don't understand. Against Denver, doesn't get anything going on the ground. Like that one to me. What do you say?
People are looking at it's box score, like 6 targets, 13. Oh man,
Yeah.
No, you can't. This Denver defense is the only thing that's like keeping them in games. Like their defense looks to be very good. I'm never playing a chalky Josh Jacobs. Hopefully he gets steamed up because I think he'd be a really bad play.
Yeah, that's where I have a little bit of struggle. Like I said, on quarterbacks and running backs, I'm not going to help you guys out too much beyond. I'll give you thoughts and ideas, but I really like some of these guys. The one I struggle with more, Barkley looks so good on paper. He had a bad game on Monday Night Football and still, quote unquote, got there. But again, got to remember you're paying up $8,000 for that. If you listened at quarterback, or even if you're just joining, I said I like the construction of the more expensive setup. So I'm going to have to trust some of these values. I've got other guys underneath them. When you're not playing Jamal Williams, play Penny. Play Penny with the Seattle D. Leverage it completely the other way. You can do that. Go to a guy like Craig Reynolds. Earlier in the week, Big T, JSU, myself did the slate preview on Tuesday. They'd come up with that idea. I thought that was a good one where you just save that money, get a similar spot, and it could be a thing. He was already getting mixed in before Swift went down. So that's something I thought about. And then just going down, I talked about Chubb. Got to think a lot of family in the building. I think Hunt obviously could steal from him, but at 7,900, he's shown the ability to get those yards on the ground, break those big runs. It's a matchup against Atlanta. And on top of that, he can himself can get 2 or 3 touchdowns. So I don't hate that. And then Dameon Pierce, another guy. We talked earlier about this. That was in the same tidbit on my Twitter. You mentioned JT Hayes, where if you go with that stack, like you're saying Pierce can get it going on the ground against them at home. And that's going to set it off so that now we need Herbert, Williams, Palmer, Everett, those guys to start coming back the other way. So I actually love setting it up that way with Dameon Pierce here. He's been getting a lot more. You talked about Javonte Williams picking up steam. Pierce looks like he was who we thought he was. They just didn't want to run him out in week 1 that way because he's a rookie and he's brand new and let him break in just 1 week. The last 2 weeks, he's been getting plenty of action. Penny, who we already talked about. And then lastly, AP, I want your thoughts on this one, man. This is another one I've been talked into by some. Maybe I'm crazy. AJ Dillon, if they actually do win this baby by like the 10 points or more at home, just jam it on them. He's the guy that's been sort of running anyway. We know what he can do in the red zone and end zone setup with those massive quads where they just bust his ass into the end zone. Like, I don't know, can he score 2 touchdowns and get 80 on the ground here? What are your thoughts on AJ Dillon?
Yeah, no, I like that call. Just thinking about this a little bit more though, too, Tambo. Like, all right, so if you are like targeting the Millie Maker, and if you do want to get different, but you do want to play some high upside plays, maybe, focusing on the receiver position, since, it is a receiver league. We talk about it each and every week. I think you could do kind of what JT Hayes was alluding to. I mean, just, playing around with it. Try this out. Fade Saquon, fade Herbert, fade Williams. Just see what the builds look like in 150. Yeah. I bet they're going to look decent. You still have Eckler. You got Chubb in a great spot. Johnny Taylor. We know what we know the type of slate breaking upside Johnny Taylor has, and the Titans aren't very good at all. And then you got plays like, honestly, like I'm with you, AJ Dillon. I think he's actually out rushing Aaron Jones a little bit there. It does look like a true split. You also have Javonte Williams. I'd definitely rather play Williams over Jacobs. No one's going to play Javonte Williams. Right. He's the far more talented guy. Yes, we're all frustrated with the coach there in Denver. He's a complete donkey. However, I think Melvin Gordon got his touchdown, right? Yeah, he got his touchdown last game. You gave the veteran the touchdown. Maybe, just maybe, in a key divisional game, we see Javonte Williams at what? 3 to 5% ownership, do what we all thought he was going to do. I mean, the best ball bros were stroking so hard to Javonte Williams. What was he going? Like second or third round? I mean, this dude was one of the top picked running backs out there. So it seems like I might talk myself into doing this, but going under on those 3 real chalk running backs, going all in on 4 receiver builds. There's a lot of good receivers, I think, that are going to go overlooked, and focusing on some of these lower owned plays that could easily outscore some of these chalk running backs. So I think you got me sold, Tambo.
Yeah, I like that call. Do me a favor, guys. I'm going to give my final thoughts running back. The show's 800 something watching, only 300 likes. Just check and see. Hit that thumbs up. See if it's working. I'm not sure if it is. So just hit it. See what happens. We'll see if anything changes. Real quick, though, you just mentioned there, the last thing, someone in our Discord asked, so I'm going to bring that question across. I think it's a good one. What's up with all the Carr love on FanDuel? This is a point I want to bring up because we just talked Javonte. I know it's like hedging against a different site, but on FanDuel, Carr is pretty near free. Devontae Adams is 7,900. Like, that is basically free over there versus you've got 10,000 more to work with in salary, and he's cheaper than he is on DraftKings. So another way to get different is if you wanted to play Javonte Williams with the Denver defense, who we don't always get to defense later heavily, but I think we do. But like, my point would be, if you want one right now, Denver with Javonte Williams, leverage it up that way to what's going on somewhere else if you don't like that game anyway. And Carr actually does pass and make mistakes, so there actually is a spot to pick it off. And while it's been really ugly watching Russell Wilson and the rest of that team, I think the defense has still shown to be okay. So I actually like that call quite a bit. We're aiming for 500 likes, guys. That's why I'm talking about that. Let's go. JT Hayes, any final thoughts for you on running back? Anybody else that you want to mention here before we move to our coveted wide receiver that we're going to talk about when we get to 400 likes?
No, I mean, I think it's a good week to get off of some of those top plays, because I think there are a lot of other options that can exceed their value. Okay, good. I'm good with that. Before we go to wide receiver, guys, I want to remind you what we got going on at RunPureSports.com. Many in the chat will already know this. We got a lot of new joiners, almost up to 1,000 watching now, but a huge week. You didn't see the core report. It was at the top of this video. It was all over our Twitter at RunPureSports. You can check that out. But a huge week. Thursday night shipped showdown. Myself had a good weekend in golf. Big T went off on Monday with his core. The whole entire site, all the members shipped. It's all in the core report. Like 15 to 20 people turned less than $100 into 10,000 or more. AP talked about his heat map. We talked about our core plays where we're putting 6 of our favorite plays. And then you could tie in things like our playbook, which lists all the plays we like, that you can mix those up to make lineups. It helps you to simplify the slate, expedite the process. I'm going to say, as not my good friend, but as DJ Khaled says, you can win with us
or you can watch us win. RunPureSports.com. Sign up. JT Hayes, I'll go to you for wide receiver, man. We got all these guys here, the cheapies, right? Josh Reynolds, Richie James, Khalif Raymond has now creeped up. It looked like overnight he was going to be under 10%, but he's popped up. Tyler Lockett. What are you doing here at this wide receiver position?
Yeah, you mentioned Lockett. I like Lockett here. I'm leaning towards fading all of the players on Detroit. I mean, I think that's the way I'm going to go here. Like I said, I mean, the Seahawks defense, not great, but when you take all those weapons away from Goff, it's hard for me to see any of these guys getting to a ceiling, even in a high game. You just don't know how it's going to go. And I think it could be ugly there. So even if they work out, I mean, I feel comfortable with the value of some of these other guys. So you've got Lockett there. You guys talked about Mike Williams, and we've got the wide receiver one now for Cleveland. Bunch of targets, several first 3 weeks of the season, and he's just too cheap here. Amari Cooper at 6.3. I think he should probably be the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. He's not going to be. So I like him quite a bit here. Cortland Sutton seems to have sort of distanced himself in terms of being the wide receiver one. I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be terrible all season long. And this is just such a great matchup against the Raiders in terms of defensively what they yield. So those four guys are kind of the top guys that I have circled here. And then in Buffalo, you guys were talking about it before we came on. You talked about Steph Diggs, his price. I actually think this is a really good week to play Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, 6.6 on DraftKings. He was sort of getting worked into that first game, and Diggs left with some cramps. But I think this is a week where you see that connection between Allen and Davis rekindle. I think could be a big game for him.
Yeah, I like those calls. Obviously, we were hinting at Amari the whole way. Like, you can play him however you want. You can mix him into the stacks, use him as a one-off. I don't care. We do a review show every Monday on this channel. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, myself, JSU, and K Fallick. And it's like every week so far when we review it, the common theme is a wide receiver one at a fair price that people are just avoiding or not playing enough of, that just sneaks into that lineup to make it all work. And there's a few of those on this slate. We'll talk about it as we go through wide receiver. But AP, my general thoughts are that I talked at quarterback. I like some of the chalk. I got off it in some places. I talked at running back. I like most of the chalk. Talked about different ways to use it. Here's where I think we can get different, right? These wide receivers, there's a lot of options, even within these same offenses, that you can go to different guys down the board. So what are you doing here with these guys up at the top? Reynolds, James, Deontay Johnson, Raymond, Lockett, all those guys. What are you doing here at wide receiver, AP?
I mean, as we go through it position by position, which I haven't done yet, and usually I don't do, up until the show, I usually go game by game, have my own process. So I like doing it this way when we go and do the show. But looking at this, man, you're telling me Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, Richie James, all going to be 20+% owned. I mean, think about it. Okay. The build path is so clear. And what so many people are going to do, Barkley, Herbert, Williams, Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, Richie J. I mean, man, if you just like create some rules or, I'm not saying like full fade them. I think that's, potentially wrong in multi-entry formats, but I don't think you should ever play like Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond in the same build together, because I remember like when I first ran some builds this morning, just seeing what Saber liked, it was trying to give me Jamal Williams, Reynolds, and Khalif Raymond all in the same build together. And I'm like, I mean, that's
throw
in tournaments
in there too, buddy.
Throw Hawkinson in there too. And you got your Cash Bros build. So I think it just sets up to be such a good tournament week. Sure, I could get bent over. I got bent over yesterday when Big Mo, ended up, not playing for Minnesota. It happens. It is what it is. We come back stronger the next day. But you can't play scared like that. And I think today is such a perfect week to get off some of this chalk. Like I said, I love Mike Williams. 7K. We know he can break a slate. I got him right around 35 to 40% in my Herbert stack. So I'm going to be very, very overweight on him. Amari Cooper, I'm very high on him as well. So I'm right there with JT Hayes. Stephon Diggs, of course, in my Josh Allen stacks and in the games that I'm targeting there. I don't think you should just full fade Stephon Diggs. I think that's a bad move. But I do like Gabe Davis. So a rule I created is I want exposure to both, but I don't want them in the same lineup. So I put them in a group. I just tell the rules that they can't play against each other, and you're good to go. Drake London, 6,100. I have a ton of interest in him as well. And then I do like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf a little bit here on the Seahawks side. I don't like them together. So again, another rule setting that you can build in. And then Brandon Cooks, obviously, and Nico Collins, not in the same build again, but two guys that I like. I just think, man, this Chargers team is not going to be able to get any pressure on Davis Mills. He's not a good quarterback, but he's definitely fine. And he has two receivers that I think are pretty talented, and Brandon Cooks. And I think Nico Collins is definitely underrated, going to fly way under the radar. Just think about it. Nico Collins, 4K. I like that game. You know, not everyone else has to. Same price as a Richie James. Similar price as a Josh Reynolds. We could see Nico Collins in the right game script land in the end zone. So for me, it's all about getting off of this chalk, creating some good groups, and targeting some of these some of these guys who I think have some decent upside there. So the one I'm kind of struggling with, I want to like, is Devontae Adams, 8,300. Again, I think I'm locked in on that 4 wide receiver build. I think it's going to be quite contrarian with all of the good running backs that we have on the slate. We talk about all the time in showdown formats. In my article, I do. I like getting off the 3-3s in showdowns just because it's always so popular, and I can naturally, get different relative to the field from a macro perspective. I think we can do that this week by going all in on 4 wide receiver builds, eliminating tight ends and running backs from that flex spot on DraftKings.
Yeah, one great thing you brought up there, not just that. This is my point. Like, I talk about this all the time, and in showdown it happens. If 5-1 wins on Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, everyone's like, oh, I can see it again. We're just jamming the same lineup that just won. Of course, it's going to be the same thing that happens. But literally less than 7 days ago, because the slate hasn't started yet, it was make sure you get running back out of the flex. This week, everyone wants to play 3. It was load up at those top tier wide receivers. Now we're going all these value dudes, Richie James, Reynolds. I get all that, but I'm saying I like the value running backs. Excuse me, even the pivots there that you can go to. You don't just have to play the chalk ones. But my point would be this, AP, and JT Hayes, I'll come back to you in a second for anybody else you want to add in, but just look at it. AJ Brown getting almost no ownership. Michael Pittman getting almost no ownership. Mike Williams with injuries there getting almost no ownership. Why not just use those running backs that are value and stack up these wide receivers? And there's other ones. We talked about Amari Cooper at 6,300, Drake London, 6,100. Like, there's guys in here you can use that are great plays, that it was the same strategy you told me was going to win last week, and now you're not going back to it because it didn't work 1 week. I think that's how we got to play this slate. I'm definitely going to have some builds like that for sure. I like some of the other calls that you brought up there, definitely. Guys, we just hit 400 likes before 9:30, so that definitely is the fastest. We're almost to 1,000 watching, so that's almost the fastest as well. Let's try in the next 13 minutes to get to 500 likes. If you haven't, or you just joined us, click that thumbs up. Click the subscribe, of course, as well. We're doing more free shows than ever on this channel throughout the week. Every sport, all the stuff, you name it, hit that there. And if you can't join RunPureSports yet, you don't have the money, you haven't got into it yet, you don't know what it's all about, you want to just wait it out, you can get a lot of great information there. And it's free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free to hit the like button. So do that for us. JT Hayes, any thoughts on that roster construction I just brought up? Like, a lot of these high priced, I mean, they're still in the 7s. They're not really high priced. Wide receivers are just not getting the play that we saw last week. Now, they're not the caliber of what we saw last week, but I think that's priced fairly. They're not 8,500 or 9,000 or 9,900. That they're not Cooper Kupp or those guys. Any thoughts to that? And then anybody else you want to add at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, especially when you mentioned Pittman and Mike Williams. AJ Brown, I was on. Like you, I'm going to wait until around 11:30, quarter to 12, see what the weather is like in those games, because I do think that impacts a guy like AJ Brown at that price. But one of the things every week I do, this is why Amari Cooper jumped off the page to me and probably to you guys as well, and I'm surprised he's not getting steam, is you look at the wide receiver ones, guys who are getting the lion's share of the targets, and what's their price, right? And it's just underpriced. And if you can find 2 or 3 of those guys that are underpriced, that are getting like 15 to 20 targets over the last 2 or 3 games, I think those plays become very interesting. And in terms of your discussion about who is going to be popular and are there pivots, I just think there are so many pivots this week here when you look at pivots to Herbert and Williams, when you look at pivots to Richie James. I mean, just two guys who are not that cheap, but two wide receiver ones that are pretty cheap that nobody's going to play. DJ Moore, I get it. He's got Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball, but he's in a good matchup against this Arizona defense. He's just 5.3K on DraftKings. And there's so much love. I wrote about this in the game write-up I did about Green Bay and New England. So much love for Romeo Dubes. Romeo Dubes this, Romeo Dubes that, and he could be great. But how many times have we seen this before? You got a wide receiver miss a couple of weeks who was the guy last season, and then he comes back and he reinserts himself. I think that could happen today. It's a very soft matchup for Alan Lazard, getting back to his full workload at just 6.2 on DraftKings in a game that I think the Packers are going to win in a laugher.
Yeah, I like that too. Just some quick guys, I know the chat was talking about it, some of those pivots and stuff. Earlier, you were mentioning Davis Mills at quarterback, AP kind of, but what about David Sills? There's literally 5 of him. He's the 5th. David Sills, the 5th. He could be a nice little spot you go to there off of Richie James. We've seen him get mixed in. They have nobody, no Tony, no Shepard. They're missing guys. It's also different than where most are playing Barkley. If they're not, they're playing James. They're both getting ownership, though. So why not go to someone that's completely unowned? People are talking about Bellinger, which we're going to go to tight end in a second. Keelan Cole instead of Mac Hollins. Another option that you could go to there. There was one more I was trying to think of, another guy that's owned, Khalif Raymond, but we already talked about him. He actually did pick up a little bit of steam. But if you weren't playing Williams, Reynolds, and Hawkinson, you could just play Raymond at 3,100 and play him with like a penny mini stack. I like that type of secondary stack where both guys are super cheap, because even if they only get to, 10, one gets 20 and one gets 10, that's still 30 points across. 15 and 10 is still 25 points for a very small cost. So I don't hate that. AP, anything else at wide receiver before we go to tight end?
Yeah, I mean, my worry in the Bears-Giants game is that game might not go over a combined 265 yards through the air, when factoring both quarterbacks. So that's like my problem and why I couldn't get behind like a David Sills type of play. Who was the other one that you mentioned?
No, I was just saying any other
just
guys
him.
you want to mention? Like,
no, I mean, like Alec Pierce, I had a little bit of interest in, but I'm not gonna. So like for me, it's more about. Okay, so I think the Lion, I think it was DC last night talking about, okay, so now, we're without Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're without multiple pieces here. I think it's going to be a big hit to kind of the offensive production. I know we've all talked about it here. I think the under is really intriguing in that game. I know it's come down quite a bit, so the line's not as good as what it was. Is what it is. I do worry about overall scoring, back and forth scoring type of environment here. So I do think it's all about, so I'm not fading Reynolds. I'm not fading Khalif Raymond or Cephas, but I'm definitely not making sure any of them are in the same lineup together. So it's going to be like a pure one-off, because what I see happening is, let's say the Lions, let's say it's a 23-20 type of game, which is what I think we could see. We're not going to see multiple pieces there, go off. And so that's kind of how I'm playing it. And, I think it really fits kind of the game scripts that I see panning out.
I like it. JT Hayes, anything else you want to add at wide receiver before we go to tight end?
No, you guys talked about Drake London. I mentioned him before, but I like him as the number one guy on the Falcons today in terms of points. And that's a good correlation there with him and Cooper.
Yeah. Him and Nick Chubb, man. I love that. Play Nick Chubb, run it back with London. Nice way to target that game.
Yeah, that definitely is. I love that call too. It's a good little secondary stack. You mentioned one earlier, and it's going to segue us anyway, JTAs. I'm going to go to you for tight end, but you mentioned DJ Moore. It's gross, but like you said, it's one of those cheap wide receiver ones that if they could find a way, and I know it's Baker and I get all that and whatever, but if you have that happening, you could put Zach Ertz at tight end across from him in that game. It's another cheap secondary stack where it's guys that can actually get touchdowns or could. And I'm just saying it's just a way to get off the board a little bit, but let's go to tight end, JT Hayes. TJ Hawkinson looking like the highest owned, to AP's point earlier, like they're trying to jam 3 Detroit guys into your lineups no matter what. Most will figure it a way to set a rule against it in some way, shape, or form, but not all. That's what we do inside our bubble. We forget casual players will just plug them in and not even realize it because they just fit the value plays and they show up on all the best boards, point per dollar. Hawkinson takes JT Hayes, and then other guys you want to use at tight end. I think we can spend a little bit of time here today.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkinson is the only weapon that he's got left in terms of the starters there, so I can see it. But by the same token, this isn't the NBA where, if 3 guys are out, then you just plug in their backups because they're all going to play 40 minutes. It's just a different equation. So I really, the more we talk about it, I'm kind of leaning towards, if all those Lions players, the Lions backups are going to be popular on a 12-game slate, it's very intriguing to just cross the team off. Just cross the team off, make them the little shadow, and boom, you don't get any of them in your lineups, and see what it's like, because I think the pivots are there. When you talk about tight end, I mean, Mark Andrews is going to be popular. Again, that's one where we're going to watch the weather, but he's been absolutely phenomenal to start the season. You mentioned Ertz. I like Ertz a little bit here. Dallas Goedert is a little bit interesting with some of those throws around the line of scrimmage, especially if there's weather in that game. And then one guy that jumped out because I was going game by game and I didn't even realize this, but Tyler Conklin, the tight end for the Jets, 25 targets through the first 3 games. Now, that's with Joe Flacco. Zach Wilson is going to be back in this one. So have to think about, how does that change? Is there a different chemistry between them? But it looks more like an offensive game plan for the Jets where, hey, they're going to throw these short passes. I don't think it's going to change all that much with Zach Wilson. And then in that same game, Pat Freiermuth is interesting at a low price point.
Yeah, Freiermuth is popping up, but not, the ownership's not quite there. It looks like Andrews, Hawkinson, Andrews, and Njoku, guys like that. AP, what are your thoughts here at the tight end position?
Yeah, my thoughts are JT Hayes are not going to like my thoughts, because Kyle Pitts was like 7% owned last week. The opportunity was there. If you look at his routes that he's running, it's like a true wide receiver, which is what the type of routes he should be running. He was one catch away from, going over 100 yards, putting up a monster number. And when that happens, JT Hayes hates it, but it is.
He's one catch away every week. He's one catch away every week.
No, not true. Not true. Not the first 2 weeks were a complete disaster. When I think of the whole season as a whole, he's going to have a nice stat line. It is what it is. The games are going to come, and I'm going to go in on him when he's going to be sub 10% owned, which is going to be the case today. We know we like that game environment. I'm on the overs in that game. We know Mariota shouldn't, he's not going to get pressured here. Hopefully he's not good at all. I mean, he can run, but he's not good. If Cordell Patterson is limited in any way, it's going to be, they got to get it done with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So those are going to be my 2 guys I like in this game. Kyle Pitts, again, my favorite tight end, as long as he's lower owned. If he was steamed up, I wouldn't be as high on him. But if I can get him sub 10%, a guy who can break the slate, go over 100 yards, almost saw it last week, get into the box. Doesn't do it very often, but he can. The upside is there. I'm going to bet on it as long as I have that leverage. So I like him. I do like David Njoku on the other side of this game too. Dallas Goedert, I have interest in. Gerald Everett, I have interest in as well. Hopefully that cardio is up because I know against the Chiefs, multiple weeks ago, but man, Gerald Everett was really struggling there. And, but more of the story is TJ Hawkinson's going to be what, 30% owned? I mean,
probably 20 to 25 when it actually says
higher stakes though. What, 30%? The cash guys are going to love them. And so I think it's a really, really nice week at the tight. Only one tight end in any build. Don't play 2 tight ends. Donkey move. But focus on these guys. Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, for sure. Dallas Goedert, all guys who I think have really nice upside, who could absolutely smash, assuming, TJ Hawkinson underwhelms.
Yeah, I like that. And guys, we just need 10 likes per minute for the next 3 minutes, and we get there. So 10 likes per minute. For the next 3 minutes, we'll be at 500, our fastest ever, over 1,000 watching now. We appreciate all of you getting up in this early Sunday morning. We got Morning Wood coming up next. It's going to be a great day. Everyone's shipping. The whole chat is shipping. All of us are shipping. So it's going to be a good week for Run Pure Sports. Couple other guys, the chat caught on to some of them. I really like Bobby Tunyon this week. I think if you look at the spot, 7 targets last week. I know some guys are back and whatnot, but 7 targets last week, and it's the same matchup. We just saw Mark Andrews go 8, 89, and 2. He's cheap. You could get him in on a mini stack if you wanted. If you wanted to play like a Ramondre Stevenson and you assume that Green Bay is going to get up, but you don't even have to. You can just one-off him and play him. The other guy I said I would mention, because AP, we're on this stack. We like this Chargers spot. Pharaoh Brown. Again, he's still questionable, but it looks like he's going to play. But who's not questionable? You know who's out? Brevin Jordan. So he's already out for them. I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. And then those mid-tier guys you mentioned, it just depends on how you're stacking it up. But going back to my point earlier on FanDuel, where Carr is very cheap, you can use like Carr with Waller. And I think it's a spot where they might just have to go to him a little bit, right? So at 5,600 on DraftKings, not as enticing, but over on FanDuel, where those Carr stacks work well, I think that's somebody else you can go to. And then JT, I want to click back to you for 1 second here on the conversation around Andrews and Dawson Knox and that game just in general, because we have the time today. What are we doing here? Like in the higher stakes, even smaller fields, if you will, Lamar Andrews was the thing. We said Monday, like just plug those two in and move on. That's all the production. He's a wide receiver 1 that fits the mold of what I was talking about earlier. We just play the 7K, 7,100 guy that basically is a wide receiver 1. And you can just put Davis across from him or McKenzie if you want to have more money to spend, or you can just use those value plays and make it work with Lamar, Andrews, Diggs. And then, like I said, Lamar and Allen are interchangeable. Talk to me more about this Buffalo-Baltimore situation and any love for Dawson Knox as well.
Yeah, because even and when you're looking at this, right? I mean, Davis is a guy where I like him this week, but you almost need the weather to be not too terrible because he's going to get behind that Baltimore defense with, first of all, Andrews, right? You look at him at 7-1, you talked about it, and there's been talk about this. Hey, you got to look at him as a wide receiver 1. He's the top option on this offense. And you would put him right in the category of Amari Cooper and say he should be 8K. He should be at least 8K in that offense based on that volume. So I think that's one way to go, would say, I want all wide receiver 1s, including my tight end, and that's going to be Mark Andrews. So I think that's interesting. Dawson Knox hasn't popped off yet, but we've seen this with the Buffalo offense. They rotate guys back and forth. Diggs will have a big game. It'll be Davis, and then Knox will get in there and he'll get his 15, 18 fantasy points. So I think those guys are definitely in play. One thing I will concede on Kyle Pitts here as we're talking through the situation. What's that?
I said, let's go. Get me excited. Get me excited.
Don't get excited because it's just a thought, though, is the one game, because there's been exactly one fucking game where Kyle Pitts has had a ceiling game in his NFL career. It was a London game, and it was a game that I believe it was Cordy Patterson was out, Ridley was out. If Patterson's out, then I think maybe you can feel a little bit more confident. I would feel a little bit more confident in Kyle Pitts, but I think this is a Drake London spot.
Well, that was a London game. You said it was a London game. Now it's a London spot.
This is
either way, it's all signs point away from Kyle Pitts.
Real quick, more of the story is I think we all like that game, and somehow it's going overlooked. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like, I don't know, people don't like is Marcus Mariota, is he going to be popular? Or is he one of okay. So I mean, are people playing him naked, or what are they doing? They're not pairing him with Drake?
No, I think it's Mariota, London, and Pitts likely, and then run it back with like Chubb or Amari. That's probably the most common setup for that game.
But Chubb's projected to be like 4% owned. Like no one's playing him. Because
those stacks, like I said, no matter, even if Mariota is 10% or 12%, Mariota with two other guys and Chubb is less than 1% of the stacks and tournaments likely. So that's what we always say about the chalk. The whole point of the show, everyone's, I just got to fade this guy, fade that. I'm not playing this guy at that percentage. It's not who you play. It's how you play him. If you go Mariota, bad. You go Mariota stacked up with a different run back, good. Way to get different within the exact same spot that everybody else is playing. Go ahead, AP. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Very good points all around.
It's the same setup as last week. It's like history repeating itself. People are on Mariota. Nobody's going to play Brissett. The scoring last week, Geno Smith, 22 fantasy points, and Mariota, 17. I mean, you get you're maxing the millie. Throw 5 lineups in there with Brissett, and when you win $1 million, you'll think.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I like that. We're ahead of pace. We hit over 500 likes. Appreciate all you guys for that. Why stop now? Go for 600. You're going to give the like next show anyway when Big T hops on. He's got a lot. He had a big winning week. We love our guy, Big T. Let's steal some of those likes back, though. Let's take some more of them that you're going to give to him next show anyway, and we'll keep it rolling out right from there. Last thing, someone brought this up in the chat, and I'll bring it up. I do think this is interesting. And AP, you brought this point up pretty much all show. 4 wide receivers, you said. I think because some of these, we're saying some of these tight ends are basically their team's wide receiver 1. I think you can go 2 tight ends in the flex, like use 2 tight ends and use 1 in the flex this week. Not all. I'd like it more in like a game stack, but here's an example back to what I just said earlier. How do you get different in this Buffalo-Baltimore game? why not play Knox and Andrews? We just talked about it. Andrews is an underpriced wide receiver one stuck at a onesie position. Plug him into your flex, use Knox in the tight end position, or vice versa. That really doesn't matter. My point being, play the game that way. Go Allen, Davis, Knox with Andrews, and you've got the same game everyone's on, but how many are stacking it that way? I think that's interesting. And then lastly, people brought up Njoku. We brought up Njoku. We brought up Chubb, Hunt, either of those guys. We've brought up Amari Cooper. People are playing Mariota. Sometimes it just falls this way. And if you think I'm lying, go back to week one. What happened week one? Remember this. Gibson is a good play at running back. I like Dotson. I like Samuel. Okay, what do I do then? I'll just play those guys as one-offs and two-offs or whatever you want to call it. Nobody wanted to play it with Wentz, and those that did were rewarded. Sometimes when guys just fall into it, you can make fun of JT Hayes and me all you want with this Brissett call, but if you were going with that and you already have them in your lineup, sometimes that's just what you do. And while Brissett is not hitting a Josh Allen game, to my earlier point, but that's why I said I'm so heavy on those three quarterbacks because I love them. But when I'm sprinkling around in these other spots, like a dome game here, I have no problem doing it because the math and the players are already telling the story in your lineup by them fitting in. Why not just add on and stack it up and then see what it fits for you? So I don't know, do your thing. That's what I'm going to do. AP, anything else at tight end? If not, man, take us right into the defenses.
Yeah, I mean, you sold me. So I just because we all love dome, targeting dome. I gave Brissett just for you guys a milli tag in the heat map. So 5 builds. I think that's what I'll have. Right at 5 builds just for JT Hayes. You can't fade that face right over there. You know, the head's shining. I need to rub it, and yeah, it just gets the mojo going.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Tyler. He said I'm turning red. I'm excited, man. This is what happens when we ship. Come with the passion, the energy, the winners. That's what we do. You must be new here. And to my boy Crain, says if you play double to tight end, you're torching equity. Maybe, but Andrews is not a tight end. So you're actually not playing tight end. You're just playing what DraftKings decides he is and what the depth chart decides he is. He's a wide receiver one. So you're playing a wide receiver one that's cheaper than he should be in flex. Different story altogether, my friend. But stay tuned for Crain coming up next with Big T, with Hoop, Morning Wood, defensive takes. JT Hayes, I'll start with you. We got Bears, Giants, and it looks like Steelers are the pay up option. What are you doing here at old DST this week? We got about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm probably paying down. Talked about Seattle's defense. I like them a bit. If you're not like AP and going all in on the Chargers and you think Herbert might be a little bit hurt, Houston defense is 2.4K. I probably won't be playing them. But the other one, and it was interesting earlier in the week when I looked at it, because I just think that one of two things: either this defense, as we've come to know it, is completely different, or you've got a weather game. We know that Josh Allen, as good as he is, if he's inefficient, then he could throw some picks. Baltimore's defense 2.5.
Yeah. Another way to go different with it too, like you said, if you're not, and that's what we always say on the Monday review show, JS, you and I talked about just this past week, where sometimes you just land on this and people are like, oh, why would you play that? You're targeting this. Well, if your whole lineup already says you're not interested in that spot, doesn't mean you're not interested in your portfolio. It means you're not playing that game in this lineup and you land there. Why not do that and just plug it in? It's insane to me, right? Just put it in. So I don't like any of these chalk ones, AP. Do you have other ones that you like though?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'm very high on the Chargers, but I did not remove the Texans defense from my defensive pool. So it's just more of like a rule setting for me because, yeah, I mean, it could just be that it's going to be the struggle bus for them. And Texas defense has been a smidge underrated. However, I think they could get a little exposed today. I'm torn. I mean, Bears, Giants are the chalk. I do like the Steelers. I think their Steelers are fine. I like playing them with Najee. We talked about that earlier. The Packers, so 4,100. This could just be a spot where they pour it on, and it's like a 40 to 10 type. Maybe not 40, but maybe 38 to 13 or something like that. Packers are interesting. That price should keep ownership down quite a bit. I think the Colts are interesting. I like pairing them with Johnny Taylor. So Cowboys also. Cowboys, I like pairing them with Tony Pollard. We didn't even talk about Tony Pollard, but man, he's the guy there. Like he really is right now. You see it shifting a little bit. They still like to give dusty ass Zeke some carries, but man, Tony Pollard is so much better than him. 6K. He's going to be unowned today. I like him as just like a complete Millie Maker dart as well. So
good way to get different with it too. I've got a few D takes I'll get out, and then we'll go to our plays of the day. I appreciate you guys almost pushing for 550 likes now, but I think the Cowboys flip the Steelers as the highest owned defense at the upper price point, and that's okay. I don't think they'll get enough of a number that it matters. They project for 5 or 6%. Even if they go to 10, I don't care. They cheat. They take chances. They jump routes. They're going to get after it, and something's going to turn over. It's Wentz. Like, even if Wentz throws 2 touchdowns, I'm not playing them to get a shutout. I'm playing them to get all these chances and opportunities. So I still like them, but I do think that's true. I know everyone's on the Giants Bears. I'm actually going a different route, 2 defenses in the same game, and it's the Jags at 2,300. Or if you got the money to pay up, I know you don't usually, but if you do, Philly against Trevor Lawrence could definitely be a thing on this slate. The Broncos D I like. And then one more I had here, I was going to say too, who was the other one that I was going to tell you guys? There was one more. Seahawks we talked about for the leverage. Oh, Cleveland. Someone mentioned if you want to play Cleveland with Chubb against Mariota chalk, I got no problem with that either. So I think that's just another one that you could go to get a bit different. The Packers that you mentioned, JT Hayes, it would be, a lot to spend on a D, but it could be a spot with AJ Dillon where if you just say they're going to pound them, I actually really like that, where you'd probably have the money based on your construction. I'm thinking about, like, even if you had a Herbert, Palmer, Everett type lineup, you could probably still get to that no problem and just pick it up. I know it's not the best to spend up there, but they are playing Hoyer, who, while he may hand the ball off, he may not get the chance to do it as much as possible. Once that Packers team gets rolling, it could be where he has to throw it. His long-term stats are not good from a touchdown versus INT perspective, and the Packers could definitely get after it. So don't hate that as well. The chalk defenses are the Giants, the Bears, and then probably Steelers, Cardinals, and Cowboys are lifting up there, but I think the Cowboys are a great play here in this spot. AP, are you ready for your play of the day?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with keep the theme on point, a true Millie Maker type play as a run back with my Charger stacks, and that's Nico Collins, 4K. I think he's good. And if you just look at what the Jags receivers did to this Charger defense last week, with zero ability to get pressure on the QB, Nico Collins should run free, and I think it's set up for a big game here.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said, that's another guy. As one of the run backs, a lot are on Cooks. I like Pierce, who I was going to bring up. I'll go to a different one, but JT Hayes, I'll give it to you first, man. Play of the day. What do you got?
Yeah, just going to go with Amari Cooper here. I think he's way too underpriced for this spot, and I like that. I like that game stack. Lets you fit in pretty much anything else you wanted to, even if you wanted to go up and pay up at defense. So give me Amari, a couple of touchdowns, 150 receiving.
Love it. He's one of my one-offs for sure that I'm playing. I'm playing him in a bunch of different ways, secondary stacks, all that. Waiting on the Cordarrelle Patterson news. Like I said, it looks like he's going to go, but it did come out this morning. They did elevate Caleb Huntley, so we'll have to see what they say in warmups, but we will get that news. Be on this show watching. Be on the Up to Lock. Get over to RunPureSports.com. Get in the Discord. Get signed up. It's great for that stuff as well. And mine was going to be Dameon Pierce, but now I'm just going to say it and just say the whole game stack. Like that's my take, is that's what wins the Millies today. Overstack that game. Everything with Herbert, his guys, Pierce, Collins, get them all in there. LAC, Houston, game stack to ship the whole slate. That's my take. That's going to do it for this week, guys. For AP, for JT Hayes, for Simon behind the scenes, and myself, Toe Tag and Tambo. Appreciate all you guys watching, hitting that like button. Simon, get us out of here, man. What's up, guys? Tambo here with your Week 3 core report. It was another huge week for Run Pure members, as once again, our logos were all over the leaderboard. I myself actually kicked things off, hitting for 38K on the Thursday NFL Showdown slate, and then once again with another 35K on the PGA slate for President's Cup. You can catch all my core plays and attack plan for every NFL slate, as well as for PGA, available to premium members on RunPureSports.com. You Kill Bill Walsh followed up nailing his CFB core plays for the second week in a row. Shout out to GoBoys18 for hitting over $7,500 on the Friday DK CFB slate. On the NFL main slate, the man shipped big yet again with a $105,000 hit on DraftKings. But once again, it was one of Big T's cores that broke the slate on Monday Night Football. Big T made the unique call of plugging kicker Graham Gano in at captain, opening up salary to load up on studs for a projected low total game. Tony actually called his shot earlier in the day on our free NFL Showdown show.
What does a kicker have to score to get you there if you play him in the captain, Tony?
I mean, I think to like full ship, you would need 5+ field goals. But in a game like this, you could get 5+ field goals.
By the way, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, what the hell are you thinking? It's free. Just click the red subscribe button on our channel or the bottom right corner of our videos. Big T's strategy paid off big time, shipping literally all the money on DraftKings. Tony won over $280K himself, but he was not alone. RPS members chopped the top prize in the DraftKings Millie Maker, including JCOM turned $70 into $7K. Derek Bowe turned $45 into over $10K. B-Wall Show 5 did the exact same thing. BP Consi turned $90 into over $10K. Jeffy B123, Noon 7, MVY Littell 1928, Armed Rogery, Hard Work 24/7, and DSF Dom all joined in, hitting over $10K each. Jay Gingery turned $245 into over $12K. Gators S070, Master 24, and APOC 14 hit for $13K each. Guy Nation Matt Guy shipped over $20,000. Taylor Made himself hit for $20,000 as well. Uncle T even got in on the action, shipping over $27,000. And Rubio's core plays and playbook nailed the game script too, and he joined in on the fun, hitting for over $19,000 himself. I cannot stress enough the benefits of being a member at RunPureSports. All it takes is one night like this, and it can set you up for the entire season, and we give you guys the tools and content to make it happen. Head on over to RunPureSports.com to check out all our premium options, including SaberSim packages, and we'll see your screenshots in the Discord soon. Until next week, good luck in your contest, and let's keep running pure.
Merry Christmas from the wishbone old fucks. Want to thank Big T and all the giblets and time we spent on the workbench with the ladies this past year, even though 2020 sucks. Carson Wentz sucks. Not a top 5 quarterback. Might not even have a fucking job next year. Our dicks are big, and next year we're looking for better things and more workbench time. Listen, when you're talking about the workbench, you better be fucking eating ass, licking clit all day, twice on Sunday. Let's fucking go. Ready to roll, ready to roll, ready to roll. And listen, Big T, Big T, keep running pure, and Wentz sucks ass.
Hey everybody, what is going on? Happy Sunday. We are ready, ladies and gentlemen, for NFL Week 4. And of course, we are bringing you, as we do each and every Sunday, a little morning wood action over on Run Pure Sports. I'm Eric Crain, and I am joined, as I am every single Sunday, by the guys that have been doing it with me for years. We got Big T and who? Big T, how's your Sunday going?
Good. Always good to get back to Sunday. We had the early showdown to kind of get a little bit of action out of the gate. Got it on the TV. It's always fun to have an early game as we're building these main slate lineups. But yeah, always fun to dive back into this slate. Good slate today too.
Yeah, you know, I tried to tune into, or I tried to enter some contests for the game, and I didn't realize it started half an hour ago. Like I totally screwed up. I was like,
they were all sold out in the morning anyway.
I went and looked for it. I'm like, I'm going to get in a few last minute, yada, yada, yada. and it was like, here's this $20 10-man contest. And I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
messing with it. Because the problem is you enter that stuff, and then that's when you always end up with the nuts, and you go, oh my God, had I just got in the main stuff. It's just too heartbreaking. It's not worth, like, you want to win, but then at the same time, you don't want to win because you would have think, how much would I have won had I just got
It's
in
always
on
the
time?
reverse sweat.
Yeah.
You want to win
and
still, but when you totally hit the nuts, you're just pissed.
that's right. And before I get to Hoop, I want to let you guys know, if you guys want our plays of the day, click the like button. We're trying to get to 1,000 likes today. We would really appreciate it. And hey, while you're at it, click subscribe. Also, Hoop, how is your Sunday morning going?
Going well. Same situation you had. Like I didn't register for the the solo slate, and I woke up and I saw a what was it, like a $10 with like 3K or something to first. I was like, all right, I guess fuck this. I'm not playing the showdown for the early one. So it should have obviously. What were they big, Tony? Like the main
they
ones?
weren't huge, but they were bigger than the ones that were up there this morning.
yeah.
I mean, it was still like 100K or something to first.
Okay.
But
Yeah. So
that's when you know you're on. That's when you know Tony's on a heater. They're not used like 100K or whatever to first. That's when you know
compared
Tony's
to the
just been
normal
crushing
showdowns,
lately.
they were way less.
I mean, they're rolling the millie every week on the primetime game. So yeah, but yeah, everything's going well. I mean, you got the energy today. You know, I'm moving a little slower this morning. You got the energy, so I mean, I'm kind of feeding off of it a little bit. So I like.
I mean, I've had my 5-hour energy. I'm having my mayo caffeine. Like, we're not messing around on this Sunday morning, and we're not going to be messing around with our plays either, because we're here to give you guys the winners over on Run Pure Sports. So let's go ahead and kick it off, guys, because we got 12 games to go today, and the first game is one that I have some interest in, and I think it's a kind of a weird spot. It's the Chargers at the Texans. It's a 45-point total. The Chargers 5.5-point favorites. And anybody who watched Justin Herbert last week is not going to want anything to do with this Chargers offense, because he looked freaking terrible. And now at the same time, they got a 3.5 touchdown total. They're facing the Texans. There's no Keenan Allen in this game, so you kind of know where the ball's going to go. Tony, are you interested at all in this Chargers side? Because I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's the trendy spot. I've heard tons of people hop on. We love Herbert. We love blah, blah, blah. Powerhouse offense. Eckler's going to get more involved. I don't like it, though. They look terrible to me. The line looks trappy to me. I mean, they're in Houston. Less than a touchdown spread, like I keep talking about every week. That last week was the Chiefs Colts. Everyone kind of laughed. All the Chiefs, they'll score 30. It'll be blah, blah, blah. Low scoring game. Chiefs lose. I see it similar here. Like, the Chargers just don't look right. They got linemen out. They got skill guys out. They got Bosa out. They just got so many dudes out. I think we're trying to grasp at straws and try to find something. And I think it's going to be way more popular than people think as well. Like, everyone's talking about this game being the sneaky game. Whenever it's the sneaky game, it doesn't end up being as sneaky. It helps me because I just don't like it. Like, Eckler, I mean, I get the coach talk. They're trying to get him more involved.
Eckler's the one I like.
Everyone, though, they're getting him more involved, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I just don't see it, I guess. I'm sure Hoop likes it more than me. Josh Palmer at 5K, I do kind of like him as a play. I'm trying to see. I don't know. I just don't. I'm going to be under on this game. So maybe Hoop's got a better take.
Here's my argument for Eckler, because one, they say they want to get him more involved. That matters less to me. Two, he's got an elite matchup against Houston. Three, if Herbert is still banged up, and after watching last week, I don't know how he's not still banged up, they might get him the rock a little bit more. I don't expect Herbert to be chucking the ball deep, which means that more checkdowns to Eckler. Again, the great matchup against Houston. There's just so many ways for the dude to get there, and I don't think he's going to be super popular. Hoop, are you on Eckler with me? Are you on the passing game? Or are you with Tony and just fading this game altogether?
Yeah, going to start the show lockstep with Big T. I agree.
No!
I just haven't been playing him. Like, Eckler's, he looked like shit. Like, he hasn't looked good. Like, he's their main piece on this offense. And 4 carries. I mean, I don't care. You get blown out. Like, you lose by 3 touchdowns, whatever it was last week. 4 carries for a running back? Like, no thanks. He's so dependent on just these like dump offs, and he's not scoring TDs. I think no Keenan Allen really hurts Herbert. Like, Keenan Allen and him have a great connection. Without him, like, it's just not the same. I'll play Palmer just because of the targets and the price. But that's going to be it for me on the Chargers side. And I'm with Tony. Like, I hope this gets like beat up, or the ownership comes up. I hope people get on, because I'm off of it. On the Houston side, I don't know, man. Brandon Cooks, maybe. I don't love him. I don't know. This game, I just don't like all that much. I don't like the price tag for Mike Williams. Like, I wish he was cheaper when you consider like what he's done. I mean, 6 targets, 1 catch last week. I know Herbert was banged up. He's going to be a little more healthy this week, but they haven't looked good, prior to last week either. So, not much interest here for me.
Tony, what about you on this Texans side? Because I've heard some people talk about the passing games. I know Nico Collins was mentioned on the last show. Brandon Cook sitting there. He's always been Mr. Consistent for years. I'm not really going with the Texans side at all. Again, it's Eckler for me. What are you doing with Houston?
Yeah, Cooks is always the guy that he just always stares at me. I don't know. He always looks good because he gets the volume. He's the number one guy, but he just never feels like he gets there for me. Like, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I played him and been happy about it. So I don't know. I just really don't like this game. I think this game plays uglier than people think, and I hope it gets steamed. I think it'll get steamed, and I'm good with that.
All right. So we'll go from the game with the 45 total that nobody's playing to the game with the 39 total that everybody's playing. The Bears at the Giants 2.5 point favorites. Everybody here wants some Khalil Herbert with no David Montgomery. Everybody's going to play some Saquon because he is the whole offense. People are going to play Richie James. What a day. Tony, I'll start with you again, buddy, because I want to hear what your take is on the chalk game with the 39-point total.
Yeah, it is interesting that you say that, and it's a tough spot. Herbert is going to get a ton of ownership just because he's 5,700, and the whole offense, maybe even the way it's looked. He just got so much workload last week. I don't know. I'm struggling with the decision because I do think he's good. Like, I think he's better as just a player than Montgomery. I think the Bears O-line is better than people think. We kind of talked about it on the Print Factory this week a little bit. So I kind of think it's a better matchup than people think. And volume, I'm still going to choose. It's almost like an NBA thing, volume over the total, how I look at that. Like, if he's going to get 20-plus touches with a good O-line in a decent spot, the Giants got overwhelmed last week up front on Monday night, even though the score didn't totally show it. I don't know. Herbert side, I'm definitely going to play some Herbert, just a matter of how much. Don't like anything else on the Bears. I guess I could play. You could always play the defense against Danny Dimes. He makes some mistakes. So I could play the Bears D at 2,700. Giants side is a little bit trickier for me. Just Richie James, I wish he was a little cheaper, but man, they just don't have any. They got to throw it somewhere, right? Like, you still got a full game and your highest priced receiver is $4K. There just has to be some volume somewhere. But if he's going to end up being in the 20s% own wise, I'd rather just pivot to a cheaper guy. Like, if you want exposure, play David Sills, who is $3K. You get $1K cheaper. Are we even really convinced that Richie James is like that much better than David Sills? I'm not. I mean, I don't know, 1K difference in ownership. No one's going to play Sills. Tons will play Richie. One guy I'm for sure not playing is Saquon. I just 8K for a guy in a 39 total, 5,700 for the Herbert. That's one thing. 8K for a guy in a 39 total. I don't see it, but he's got good volume too. That's the thing about this game. There's just not guys. So I don't know. Low total, but there is a lot of volume. So guys could definitely get there.
I can't believe you didn't touch on Kenny Golladay. You're not going there?
Yeah, Kenny Golladay. I'm going to save him for the Showdown Unique people. How great was it last night that I freaking finished 11th in MMA with a damn unique after the whole week of trash talk about uniques. 10-team train right ahead of me.
Chili's for dinner, baby.
It was
the Niehaus family had Chili's.
It was perfect. It's a joke on myself, I guess. Hilarious though.
I was rooting for you to win there. I saw that toward the end. I was rooting for you, big boy. All right. Yeah. Hoop, on the Giants side, in cash games, I assume you have to play Saquon.
You got a look, Crain. I like that when Hoop gives a look. He gave you a look.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think you do just because you have Jamal Williams and you have Khalil Herbert. Like, you don't. I don't think you have to. I mean, I like him more than Big T for sure. He's looked good. He's looked explosive. And I keep saying, like, you want to play him before he gets hurt because we know it's coming at some point. Like, he'll be shut down for the season. Right now, he looks great, explosive. So in on him, not a must in cash games because you have Herbert, you have Jamal Williams. You can go there, and obviously, especially on DK, you definitely don't need to go 3 running backs in cash games. So for me in this game, though, it's Herbert, it's Barkley, it's the defenses. I'll likely keep it simple. The one thing though with Richie James, I don't think he's gonna be as highly owned, Big T, just because now we have these Lions guys. We have the cheap Lions wide receivers. That's going to soak up a ton of ownership in that range. So I would say if you do like Ricky James, Ricky James, baby.
James,
bitch.
Yeah.
If you like him, I think you can play him without worry of ownership, just because the Lions cheap guys are going to get the bulk of the ownership there.
All right, yeah, this is a weird game. Like, you don't see the 39 total as chalk very often, but here we are.
The hard part is like, okay, so say this game finishes like it definitely could, like 16-13 or something.
Yeah,
definitely could finish like that.
Yeah.
How many guys get there in a 16-13 games? The question I asked because this game, I don't see it ever really shooting out. So low scoring, who can get there? And I think all the good plays can get there still is the problem because there's so much volume. Saquon's the only one I'm worried about just because of his price. Like, he's got to get higher numbers. Like, he can't get 20. 20 is not good enough for me, I don't think, in tournaments at 8K. So it makes it a little trickier, but all these guys could get there even though the total's low. There's just no dudes. Like, someone's got to get volume somewhere.
You would think, or this game just, each
or
team
it just totally sucks.
Each team gets 45. Yeah, 45 plays and see you later. That's I don't know. Right now, I don't have anybody from this game on my main team.
I kind of think Sills might be sneaky the more I'm looking at it, because just no one's going to play him, and he's stone min 3K, and he's already played. He was the number 2 last week, even though the stats don't show it. He played more snaps. There's just difference between. Don't we talk about this in the NBA all the time? There's a huge difference between 4K and 3K. The 3K guy gets you like 12, you're okay. You're not. But if Richie gets you 12, you're in trouble. I don't want 12 from Richie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Sills. Like, he's got sure hands. He's not going to be the kind of guy that explodes for you. The problem with a guy like Sills is he needs the volume. He's kind of like a Hunter Renfrow,
and he probably can't ever get you like 30.
Yeah, like
there's no way.
Like, I mean, he's going to end up having to fall in the end zone twice, like Mac freaking Hollins did last week. So.
Mac Hollins caught a bomb too, though, and Mac Hollins. I'll take an L on Mac Hollins.
I mean, I have to take an L on Mac Hollins because I know what my team.
You guys
scored.
you just need more faith in these Raiders wide receivers. I mean, Renfrow last season, Mr. Hollins this year. I mean,
he definitely shoved it. I wasn't going to do good last week, no matter what. So he owned me even more.
Yeah, that Collins didn't matter last week. I was getting spanked. Last week was the worst freaking week, man. I don't even want to talk about last week. We're a forward-thinking show, and we're going to move forward to the next game. But before we do, guys, if you're watching, we'd really appreciate it. Click the like, click the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 likes today. If you want the workbench play of the day, if you want the mom's basement play of the day, nope, that's the wrong one. If you want the rich parents play of the day, if you want the 37X play of the day, click that like button. We'd really appreciate it. Try to get to 1,000 today. And I'll tell you a game where they might need to get to 1,000 to handle all the ownership they're about to get. The Seahawks and Lions, 47.5 point total. Detroit, 3.5 point favorites. And for the Detroit Lions, obviously, everybody's out. Josh Reynolds is your number 1 receiver. Jamal Williams is your number 1 running back. Everybody's playing these Lions guys, and I don't blame them. It's tough to imagine a few of these guys not getting their hoop. I'm going to start with you on the Lions side because I don't know how you choose here because all these guys are great plays. I think it's justifiable just to fade this team and hope that they suck. But Hoop, what are you doing with this spot?
Yeah, I mean, the weird spot, I guess, for me, like right out of the gate is the fact that the Lions are still favored, and Big T is always really, really good at like reading these situations. Like they opened up as like 5.5, 6 point favorites.
I don't even think it was that high, honestly.
Yeah,
it really hasn't moved hardly.
It
at all.
hasn't moved, and all their guys are out. Like I don't know. Like that's one thing that just stands out to me. Like right out of the gate, like Vegas still has a lot of confidence in the Lions. Like Vegas is basically saying, I'm on Ross St. Brown and Swift
Sharp
don't mean shit. and Shark don't mean anything. They're worth like 2 points. Like that's crazy to me. So that's the first thing that sticks out. So if you are fading, like that's something to keep in mind for sure. Like it hasn't moved with all these guys out. So yeah, the next thing is these are going to be the highest owned guys on the slate. Jamal Williams, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, TJ Hawkinson, four of the highest owned dudes on the slate. Big T's boy back in our life, Mr. Cephas, 3K flat as well. So when you look at this game, you have to, and then on the other side, you have Tyler Lockett, who's going to be very popular too after back-to-back 11 target games. So you look at this, and if you're playing it, like how do you get different? I think one way right out of the gate is on the Seahawks side, DK Metcalf over Lockett. The ownership between those two ownership difference is going to be pretty substantial. I like getting Metcalf in there over Lockett on some teams. And then with the Lions, how many is too many is the big question. In cash games, you're probably playing 3 Lions. In tournaments, if you just let an optimizer run, which I haven't done yet, I imagine you're getting heavy exposure to the Lions. So on the cash game side, it's fine to play 3, which is likely the best route to go in tournaments. That's why we have you guys to break it down, because it's an interesting situation. Very curious though to get Tony's read on the line movement or lack thereof, I guess I should say.
I want to hear what Tony has to say. My read is you either need to go way under or way over on these guys. Like you don't want to just match the field. Jamal Williams is a guy that, oh God, Tony, what are we doing here? I don't want to take a stand, man. I don't want to.
Yeah. So, I mean, Hoop was all over it. The line move when we did the Print Factory Friday was still like 3.5, 4. And now it's 3.5. I mean, it's 3.5 most places still. Absolutely wild that I think it's more just the sports books just think Seattle's the worst team in football, and they might be right. I mean, they lost to Atlanta. They should have lost to Denver, who was terrible at the time. I mean, they're just really, really bad. So I think they just don't have much resistance. And I don't know. I have a really hard time not going overweight here, even though they're chalky, even though there's still things we can do. Like Jamal Williams is going to be the most popular. I know JSU talked a ton about it this week too, but you can play like Craig Reynolds, the backup running back. They don't want to play just one running back, even before they played Jamal. Craig Reynolds, I think, got like 6 carries last week. I'm pretty sure, something like that. And they like him. You could see it on Hard Knocks if you watched Hard Knocks. You pivot just to him, he's not going to be owned by anybody. So sneaky play there. I mean, you could play, even like Bo Cephas is going to get some ownership, though, at 3K. I don't know. I kind of feel like you just go over on it and play 2 receivers and play 3 guys, but maybe different ones. And who knows? I mean, they can't all end up owned. I mean, maybe Hawkinson ends up lower than we think. I think he'll be high, but maybe not high enough. I mean, how do they not score, I guess, is my question. The game just gets really ugly. I guess it could, but man, Seattle's not stopping anybody. I don't care. Goff's good enough. This offense is good enough where, I don't know, these prices are really tough. Khalif Raymond at 3,100 looks like the best play to me, even though Josh Reynolds looked good last week. I think Khalif Raymond, just because of price point, 3,100, playing that St. Brown type role, I just don't see how he doesn't get there. So, yeah, they're going to be very popular. It makes it even easier, too, because I think the run back is very, very simple for Seattle. You just play either DK or Lockett. And Hoop brings up a great point. It's like the old days when they were actually a good offense, and DK would always be way more expensive, and everyone would play Lockett, and I would make fun of, like, Title on the shows because Title would always play Lockett, and DK was just always a better play, in my opinion. And that's how it is today. I mean, Lockett is projected higher most places, and he's cheaper. So just play DK Metcalf on the run back. I don't think that many people are going to play DK Metcalf. So I think you can do different things, but man, I would have a hard time seeing no one from this game getting there. So I don't think I could full fade it. I would just try to get different.
All right.
I also don't play Goff though either. Like I think Goff's a bad play.
I think if you're going to play one Lion, my favorite Lion's Hawkinson.
Yeah,
you know, he's the one guy that's a regular
bet on talent,
offense.
right?
Yeah. And he gets targets anyways. I also don't hate the idea of playing the Seattle defense if you want to get a little bit weird and a little bit different. I got the that's okay nod from Hoop. I can live with that.
I mean, Seattle's D,
I like that
2,400. Shit,
Oh,
you can
yeah.
play any D, and it's against all these chalk dudes.
You got a team that's missing like their entire offense. Like that's the spot where you want defense. The only thing holding anyone back is the fact that the Lions are still favored in this game, and the total's
And
big.
Seattle's D is so bad.
And their D is really bad. But they're
you
going
still
against a
got
team.
Goff, and it's 2,400. The leverage. I'm kind of with Crain on this one. I don't
Yes,
think it's a
thank
terrible
you.
play.
I needed just a little bit of
I mean, I don't think it's
validation.
like great, but I don't think it's terrible. Like if you had the perfect team, even if you had Lions guys, and all you had to do was play Seattle D, fire it in there. I don't know. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, the chat's asking if we have any love for Penny. I guess we're playing Seattle's D. Like it's just so hard for Penny to get there. Like he's really got to fall in the box twice.
He's
I mean,
super
Walker
cheap,
got
though.
more work too. Like,
The price tag's appealing, especially. I mean, that's another way to get different in this game. I mean, no one's really going to play him. Price is cheap. I don't hate it. Like he'll be in my player pool. I mean, not a core player or anything.
that is like a build in the tournament you could make, though. I don't love it, but say you do think the line makers are just wrong and you think Seattle's going to beat these Detroit scrubs, you could play Penny and Seattle D, run it back with like one of these Detroit receivers, and that's a different build that could be very, very good. So that's one way to get different in the tournament.
I do think Seattle beats the Lions. They got the best quarterback.
They should.
Like Geno is better than Jared Goff. I'm just going to throw that out there.
that.
I'm going to throw that out there. All right.
You don't
Jaguar-
really think Geno's better than Goff?
I
No,
think
you don't.
I think they're very close.
Well, I'll give you that. They're definitely.
I think they're very close. All right. Not very close should be our next game. The Jaguars at the Eagles, 44.5 point total. The Eagles, 6-point favorites at home. And Jalen Hurts, he's the quarterback price like all the other expensive guys. It isn't going to be his own. And all he does is crush for us every week. Hoop, what do you think about this Eagles side? Because the Jaguars side, I'm assuming we don't have a lot of interest in.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that also stands out is the people must not want the plays of the day because we're still sitting at 650. I mean,
Come on. Click that
Isn't
like
that
button,
hurtful?
kids.
Yeah, we got to get to 1K for the plays of the day, and there's no budgeting today. We're out if we don't get the 1,000 likes.
And
So,
Hoop doesn't mess around like with this stuff.
well,
Hoop, if it's at 999, Hoop's like, fuck y'all, we're not going to do it.
We're going to disconnect it for sure.
Mhm.
So don't test us today. Yeah, I mean Jalen Hurts. I've been a hater, obviously, of his real life game. He's looked good through 3 weeks. I will say he has had some really soft matchups so far. And
He's got another one today.
Yeah, and today, fits the billing as well. So he's right up there. I mean, there's 3 quarterbacks that are in a tier of their own this week. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Hurts. They're the 3 spend-ups. They all could break the slate. Definitely am going to have some exposure. You have guys you compare them with. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith has looked good. And I like Goddard. I think Goddard might go overlook at the tight end position with some of these cheaper guys, especially Hawkinson. I like Goddard. On the Jaguar side, a little bit tougher. The one guy that I think stands out as a pretty good play would be Zay Jones, 11 targets last week. Maybe building a little bit of a connection there with Lawrence. So he'd be the one that I'd play on the Jaguar side.
What about you, Tony? Because I like Hurts in tournaments. I know the weather is bad here. I'm not sure I can actually afford him, but I don't mind Hurts in tournaments. What are you doing here in this game?
So I always give my speech on this show the entire time we've done it. The weather, I don't worry about it until the line moves, and the line has moved. I mean, this thing was 48 and a half early in the week. It's down to 44. Like that. That is a significant movement in the NFL, more than a significant movement. The weather, windy, rainy, I can't play passing game when it's windy and rainy and Hurts. We can say whatever we want about him. He still can't throw the ball very good. So he's going to run. You got the rushing upside. Absolutely. 1,000,000%. But I think people are going to still play him a little bit. I mean, he'll be, like always, we say, quarterback, and they're never going to get crazy owned because people stack. He'll be like 15% though, I bet today. And that's just too high for me at 8,200 when he's not going to be able to throw. No way I'm playing pass catchers in this weather. Jacksonville's look good, but I don't need pieces. Yeah, I'm fading this game for sure.
Yeah, I'm probably not playing anybody here either. And I don't mind Goddard. He was going to, if I was going to play him though, I don't know. I just prefer Hawkinson more.
What about Mr. Olave getting in the box for Crain?
Oh man, I'll tell you, I did miss a Slate. I'll be honest, I can't take a victory lap with Olave today. I thought Andy Dalton was the stone low quarterback for him. So if he's getting there with Olave, with it, I did say, I forget what the number was, but I did say I liked Olave Rookie of the Year, and I'm feeling pretty good about that one.
He's good.
Yeah, like he is legit good, and in that kind of offense, just so good for him. But yeah, I'll take my Olave victory lap. Game I won't be taking many victory laps with because I'm only playing one dude in this game. It's the Jets and the Steelers, 41.5 point total. The Steelers 3.5 point favorite. Tony, I'm going to kick it to you first because we got Zach Wilson returning to the Jets. Obviously had the connection with Elijah Moore last year. Now Moore, though, competing with Garrett Wilson. Corey Davis is still there. And on the Steelers side, Mitchell Trubisky's still the quarterback, but Najee Harris is going to be the one to get the ownership. What are you doing here, Tony?
Yeah, we had some pretty big arguments on the show earlier this week about this game. I just think Pittsburgh might literally be one of the worst teams in football. I don't believe in them at all. Their O-line is a disaster. They can't block anything. And Najee, people love Najee this week because of his price, $6,700. I've heard tons of people like him. I just don't get it. Like, their line is terrible. Why would I want to play a running back behind the worst O-line in football? Like, they can't block anybody. So
it's been like that for a few years, and I don't know if I've played Najee Harris once.
So that means you like him today?
No.
Oh, I thought that was the guy.
I like a really weird dude in this game.
Oh, I like when you like weird dudes. So
yeah, I like good. A really weird guy in this game. I like a little.
I don't like here, in this game. Tell me.
I like Chase Claypool at 4.7K. Like
receiver,
the guy,
we're working in the right direction when it's a receiver.
Look, he's a guy. He's a guy. He's been seeing 6 targets a game. He's still rushing the ball a little bit. His touchdown prop is under 200, and the Jets' pass defense is one of the worst in the league. Now I can play Deontay for 1,300 more, George Pickens even for 900 more. I don't mind either of those guys, but Claypool's the guy that I've kind of zeroed in on, and he fit my build perfectly. So I'm on Claypool this week.
I was rooting for your weird guy to be a receiver. I'll be honest.
Well, it's got to be better. It's got to be better than Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, we can't do worse than Mooney. I want to hear what Hoop thinks about this game because I just can't. Man, I just can't do it. I hope Najee sucks because I talk so much shit about Najee that I hope he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like Deontay Johnson at 6K on DraftKings, I think is fine. I mean, he's still getting a ton of targets. The obvious drawback is Trubisky's the one throwing him the ball, but he's been pretty consistent. I mean, over 10 targets. Why did they
go to the rookie with the longer week?
I mean, it makes no sense. But the catches are still there too. 7, 6, 8. If he finds the end zone, he's there. Not very likely to find the end zone, but if he does, he's paying it off in on him. And then I will say with Najee, I don't love him, but on FanDuel, he's only 7K. Like, that's cheap. Yeah, he's cheaper than.
That was the price point I made fun of Dunkel last week for Kamara.
Yeah, that didn't work out. But yeah, so now it's Najee at 7. He's cheaper than Jamal Williams and Herbert.
How much is Herbert on FanDuel?
He is 7-1, I believe. Or
Khalil Herbert's 7-1 on FanDuel.
Yeah, FanDuel did a good job of getting those guys.
Wow,
those guys up there. I think.
What the hell is going on? FanDuel hasn't adjusted a baseball price in 2 months.
Yeah, Herbert is 7-2 for Khalil Herbert over there. So
wow,
and then Jamal Williams 7-4, Najee 7K. So interesting, I'd say for sure. But yeah, overall, I'm not messing with this game all that much.
All right, well then let's move on to the Browns and the Falcons.
Dennis in the chat said the Jets total moved 6.5. No, the Jets total wasn't one of the ones that moved. It was always low.
Yeah, Jets 7-19. Like, and again, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson. Like, I kind of don't mind these guys.
Wilson's like your boy Olave. He's a stud,
I know, and look, Zach Wilson loves to target the slot, and that's where Garrett Wilson operates at 5.4K. Like, if Wilson was mid 4s, like I would be all in on him. But like,
does Pittsburgh still cover these slot guys with linebackers like they used to?
Yes.
Is he gonna just be running wide open all day?
He like Garrett Wilson easily could smash this week. Like, I don't mind Garrett Wilson at all, especially with Zach Wilson. Because Zach Wilson's going to air it the bleep out. All right, Browns at Falcons, 47.5 point total. The Browns 1 point favorites on the road. Jacoby Brissett, Marcus Mariota. Get excited, Hoop. Where are we going in this one? Because the total's high. Like, we should have some interest here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game. You look at Marcus Mariota, the price is still cheap, and he continues to have that nice, stable floor, 16, 17.5, 21 fantasy points. feels close to like kind of breaking one. And could this be the slate? Maybe it is. I mean, Hurts is dealing with weather. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson dealing with weather. Could this be the Mariota week? The connection with Drake London looks strong. Pitts finally got involved last week. Cordell Patterson a little dinged up, it sounds like, probably going to play. This could be the Mariota week. So I'm in on Mariota, London, Pitts. I love, the fact that they just forced the ball to him out of the gate. I mean, you need to. So hopefully they continue on with that on the Brown side. Like what I've seen out of Amari Cooper so far. I mean, back-to-back games with 9 catches, 7 catches, and 101 yards, and found the end zone in both. And he's still cheap. You have Njoku, who looked good last week. This game's interesting. You got Chubb, obviously, at running back. So I think a lot of pieces here in play in terms of ownership. Not really sure where it's going to fall. I mean, I think Mariota's probably like the highest owned out of this entire game. So I like this game quite a bit. It's some uncomfortable pieces. Like, people I don't think necessarily want to play Drake London or Amari Cooper, but man, they've been good and productive. You have 2 tight ends here, so a lot of ways to go. Love this game.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know. Mariota's tough to click. Like it, Tony, let's talk real quick about kind of just the nature of this slate, because obviously you have the high-priced quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And in building my own lineups, I'm struggling right now because when I started this week, I said I have to make sure I get one of those 2 dudes in. But then you get a guy like Mariota, who's a good value, and I really could use the value. There's another guy later on I'm going to talk about that I don't hate for the value. Like, are you building your lineups with these cheap quarterbacks, or are you saying I've got to get one of these 2 high-priced guys in?
No, I mean, I think you can definitely go to this game, and both quarterbacks for that matter. I think Jacoby's a great pivot off of Mariota. I never thought I'd say that in my life because I've made fun of him for like 15 years. It feels like I'm pretty sure he went to like even Clemson or something way back in the day. I hate it.
I have no idea where Jacoby.
I hated this man though forever, but he's looked good this year. He looked good last week on Thursday. He's got the receiver, Amari Cooper. He's got Njoku. I think it's a crazy good pivot. I mean, Mariota's going to be 15%. Jacoby's going to be like 3%. They're literally the same play. They're runners that throw a little bit, not necessarily huge ceilings. They're basically the same play to me. But the good part today with all this bad weather, perfect conditions. We got the dome. We got the 48 total. We got offenses that don't have that many weapons, so you know who to pair them with. Perfect for tournaments, right? Just so easy to put these guys. You got Mariota, London, Pitts, and then Cleveland, you got Jacoby, Amari, and Njoku. So, I mean, you got clear route trees for me, which is what we want. Perfect weather. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I'm in. I'm with Hoop in this game. I like this game. One just crazy sneaky guy. You talked about Cordero being banged up. I talked about it last week, but Tyler Algier, 4,500. He's got work. He's got 10 carries and 6 carries the last 2 weeks versus Cleveland in the dome. Super cheap at running back, 4,500. Don't be scared to fire him in some tournaments.
All right, guys, click that like button, click that subscribe button. It would really help us out. We're at 750-ish likes right now. Like, let's get moving. Come on now. If you like the show, if you like a little Morning Wood, hook us up. Click some likes. Tony, he went to North Carolina State, by the way. And how many guesses would it have taken you to get to NC State?
It actually would have been my second guess. You won't believe me.
Oh, my goodness.
In my head, I was thinking Clemson and NC State is the funny thing. But,
I do have trouble believing that. I'm not going to lie.
I knew you wouldn't believe. I'm okay with it. I wouldn't have believed me either.
All right, let's move on to the Titans at the Colts. It's a 43-point total. The Colts 3.5-point favorites here. A couple of passing defenses that are terrible against a couple passing offenses that are terrible. And couple of big running backs in this game with Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Michael Pittman is interesting in tournaments. Treylon Burks has been getting more work. But, God, I just have trouble clicking on any of these guys. Hoop, what are you doing here?
Not really clicking on any of these guys. So it makes it simple for me. Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel, good price tag, I believe like 8.7. He's relatively easy to work in over there on DraftKings, not as much interest. So really I look at this and man, I just hate playing the Titans. I hate playing the Colts, and it'll just be Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel, and that's it.
What about you, Tony? Like, this is one of those games where I want to play the receiver because I know how just incredibly bad these passing defenses are, but I just don't think I can do it. And Pittman, the chat's talking about Pittman a little bit, and he was one of the guys that I would love to play, but at 7 too. I just don't know how I could do it.
I don't want to spoil the workbench play, but Pittman might be my favorite play on the slate.
Okay.
Tennessee's pass defense is absolutely horrendous. And what do we like with with offenses where you know where the ball's going?
Yeah.
The Colts have the most condensed offense in the football. JT and Pittman. That's it. There's no one else. So if I know a team can't stop the pass and Pittman's the only receiver and he's good on top of it and he's low owned on top of that, I mean, what more do we want? It literally gives you everything you could want in a tournament. Checks every single box. Sign me up. Pittman, I hate the rest of the game, though. I think Pittman will catch like 10 balls, 120 and 2. Like, just break the slate. 30+ for Pittman.
He could totally crush in this spot. And I just hate this offense. Like, I do
too.
Play.
I'm with you on that. I agree with both of you on that. I hate the Colts. I hate the Titans. But the workload is just too good.
Yeah. And if you're running back at all, I like Treylon Burks in this spot. Like Treylon Burks he's probably about 2 weeks from breaking out, but it could happen sooner. All right. Before we move on to the next game, Hoop, we're talking about a little bit of premium stuff here. Tell the people what they're missing by not being in premium.
Yeah, I mean, tons of stuff, obviously, for not only NFL, but all the other sports as well. We have a playbook that kind of goes up first. It's just an introductory walkthrough of the slate. And then we have core plays where all our coordinators will post their core plays for the slate. In NFL, it's, I think, 6 guys that are posted.
It's a ton.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of the work out of it for you. So we have that. We have a cash chart, which kind of highlights the top cash plays on the slate. That includes a cash core. We have Big T's player pool, where he'll literally put his entire player pool for each slate that he plays. JSU does it for NFL. Other guys doing that as well. Tons and tons of shows, obviously. A lot of them free, which you see here, but some premium shows as well. So yeah, it's definitely a great time to get in over here at RunPureSports.
All right. And the guys have been crushing it over at RunPureSports. Let me just give you a little list. This is the members never win section, because Big T, he shipped it for 180,000 a few days ago. ESPN 24 hours won over 7,000. JCOM turned $70 into 7,000. That's a pretty good day. Derek Baugh and Wass's Hose, shoes, whatever, each turned $45 into.
I like that.
I don't know, Bois.
Good name.
I think it says shoes, but it's SHO5.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the hose. BP Consi turned 90 over 10K. Jeffy B123 Nunez MYV Littell 1928 Armed Rodgery Hard Work 24/7 and DFS Dom all hit over 10,000 apiece. We got Jay Gentry turned $245 and over 12K. Gators 070 Master 24 and Apache 14 hit for over 13K each. Guy Nation, Matt Guy shipped over 20K. Taylor Made hit for 20,000. Uncle T, he's been getting it done for us, over 27,000. Rubio, he also joined the fun for over 19,000 himself. It's been a good day for the guys who've been following the action over at Run Pure Sports. And if you want to join that, first off, check us out over at runpuresports.com. But if you don't want to do that, guys, just click the like button. Help us out a little. We're trying to get to $1,000 to get our plays of the day at the end. So click the like button, click the subscribe button. It helps us out, and we would really appreciate it. I wish I had a better game. Like, now we could appreciate this next game, but it's the Commanders and the Cowboys. I have nothing like that. It's 41.5 point total. Dallas 3.5 point favorites. Tony, I'll kick it to you because, man, there's just not a lot to love in this game.
Yeah, I love the Dallas defense. I don't usually start with a defense, but 3,500, I don't think that many are going to play him. Who has a better pass rush than Mr. Parsons going against a guy that again, I've already taken an L, but Wentz, man, what's better than Parsons chasing around Wentz, who's going to throw the ball and take chances, where Diggs, who likes to take more chances than Diggs in the secondary. It's perfect storm for Dallas to get sacks, to get a pick six to the house. Everything lines up for Dallas's defense here. Does suck to talk about a defense first in a game, but man, is it a good spot for Dallas's defense. CD Lamb at 6,700. You have to have interest there. Cooper Rush has been better than people think. And I mean, CD Lamb is too cheap. 6,700 is too cheap for volume that he gets. It's a lot like the Pittman play. I don't like it as much, but it is a lot like the Pittman play. The price just looks too cheap to me. Washington side, I don't see that much I like against this Dallas team.
Yeah,
if it was going to be anyone, it would be a cheap like McKissick play or something, but I don't love it.
Yeah, the price on Curtis Samuel's come up a little bit too much at 5.7K for me. Hoop, I assume you like the defenses here as well?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. Obviously, one thing I will say, I like the Cowboys as a bet here. Like, I think they should be favored by more here at home. Like, it just seems like a clear mismatch. Like, for the points that Tony brought up, like defensively, I mean, they should have their way here defensively. And I like Cooper Rush. Again, I think he's better than Dak. He looked really good last week. I think a lot of people look at CeeDee Lamb and say, you know what? No Dak. That's a downgrade for CeeDee Lamb. I'm viewing it almost the opposite. Like, he looks good.
Okay, Cooper Rush is not better than Dak.
I think it's.
I actually think he's better than Dak too.
I don't even think it's an argument. In terms of winning football games, fantasy wise, yeah, sure, Dak's going to be the better fantasy. In terms of going out there and winning a football game, Cooper Rush is a better quarterback. I really don't even think it's close. So that might be obviously it's a hot take, and I know you'll disagree, and most people will. But in terms of the Cowboys winning games, I think they're better off with Rush, in my opinion. But for fantasy, people are going to look at CeeDee Lamb and say, "Well, no Dak, like I can't play him." I think he's a great play. He should have had a monster game the other night. He still had a big game. Should have had a monster game. He dropped a 50-yard catch, which would have likely resulted in a touchdown. So, I mean, I think he's a really strong play. I agree. He's super cheap. I think like Dalton Schultz is interesting. Probably won't get much ownership here. It sounds like he's going to play 3.9K. Wouldn't mess with any of the other wide receivers or the running backs. And then on the Commander side, just going to keep playing Curtis Samuel. I mean, he's doing well in these game scripts where they're trailing, gets a lot of targets, has the upside. So it's a very clear game for me. CeeDee Lamb and Curtis Samuel.
I guess one guy I don't hate he's not going to make my main team, but Terry McLaurin at 6.5K. He does have some slate breaking upside. If you want to play one of these Commander guys, that's who they're definitely not the same quarterback. That's worse take than these guys. The chat's on my side, which isn't the best place.
They're definitely not the same. We can all agree on that. They're totally different players.
They're the same quarterback. They're not the same quarterback. They're definitely.
That's one thing we should all agree on is they're not the same. They're totally different styles.
Yeah. Agree. And then that's a pretty good comparison. Dak is the QB version of Zeke. I can get behind that. I can definitely get behind that.
Dak and Deshaun Watson are the two biggest scrub time masters ever. When they get down 3 touchdowns, they turn into Joe Montana. But when it's a close game, they just suck.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the game that everybody's going to be stacking up. It's the Bills and the Ravens, 50-point total. Buffalo, 3.5-point favorites on the road. And look, everybody wants pieces from this game, and I don't blame them. You got Josh Allen. You got Lamar Jackson, Diggs, Gabe Davis, Bateman, Mark Andrews, Dawson Knox. Everybody wants guys from this game. I'm no different. Tony, are you any different?
So I'll just lead by, I mean, it's still a 50 total. I still want pieces. Agree completely. I'll just throw it out there, though. The total has dropped, too, in this game. I mean, it was 53.5 on the 25th, it looks like. It was even 54 on the 26th, 53. So it's dropped at least 3 points. And, it's still the highest total on the board. It's still got tons of good players. Absolutely, I want exposure. I just wanted to put it just so you don't, people don't go crazy, because it is still bad weather. I mean, you're going to get high winds. You're going to get rain. It's not a great spot. It just has the best guys of the slate in it, which you're not going to want to fade all the best dudes on the slate. Even if it is in bad weather, they're still going to make plays. So, the Baltimore side for me is extremely easy, like Lamar and Andrews every single week. Last week, if you played those two, you probably won money. I don't even care who the rest of your team was. They nuked the entire slate. If you played a cheap tight end, you got lapped. If you played a quarterback that didn't get 30, I mean, he got 45, you got lapped. So
just tag me, buddy.
Oh, I did the same thing, so I can tag myself with you. I didn't have these two guys, so
3 for 3.
Yep.
I mean, no one really played them.
Unity here.
But, I mean, they're in play again. Everyone's going to want to play. So Lamar's 83, Josh Allen's 84. Everyone's going to want to play Josh Allen over him. I mean, you can play Lamar because he likes to run, too, more than Josh Allen. Allen will run, too, but he likes to throw a little bit more than Lamar. Diggs, Gabe. I mean, I want exposure to this game. And I got another sneaky guy in this game that no one's going to play that, again, just in tournaments.
Are you going back to Likely?
No.
Okay.
I like to gamble at running
It's
back
unlikely
this year.
that he's going to.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
unlikely
There you go.
that I'm going. Did he score a touch? He scored a touchdown that week, right?
I'm
pretty sure he scored.
I think he either scored or had like a long catch.
Okay, his best game is 4 for 43, no touchdowns.
Yeah, it was
that was the
long
week I talked him up. He's a hero. 8.3 points.
Yeah, watch out, everybody. Those
He
8
was,
points are coming for you.
I think he got down at like the 1 or 2 yard line. It was like very close to being a score.
I remember thinking, I was picturing Crain saying not likely when he did that. My sneaky guy in Millie Maker type thing where it won't be on my main team, but in my 150, James Cook, he got a bunch of targets in this weather. I could see them throwing some dump offs to him. I loved him at Georgia. I just think he's a really good large field tournament type play, unowned on a slate like I want to gamble at running back this year. I want to gamble there and play the good guys at the other spots, play good receivers, I'm even adjusting my strategy a little this week. I'm done with these damn tight ends that I play every week. Give me a good tight end. Give me Mark Andrews. Give me Hawkinson this week. Give me guys that actually can get me a ceiling. I'm done punting tight end. I have to be done with that. If that means I have to gamble at running back, I'll gamble a little at running back. I think James Cook's a talented guy. I don't mind taking it. One of these weeks he's going to break out. I'll be there for it when it happens.
All right, Hoop, what are you doing in this game? Because obviously you're going to be playing the cash games, and I assume you're just going to be playing Andrews and Diggs, but I don't know. This is one of those games where I feel you need exposure regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it does suck the totals come down and they're going to be dealing with some weather, but still, it's still the best spot on the slate, so it's hard to really downgrade these guys all that much. Josh Allen will have way more ownership than Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson has nuked the last 2 slates. Like, you need him or you're not making any money. I unfortunately haven't had him the last couple slates, but you're going to have that discrepancy again with a lot more people going to Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson. They have similar upside. Stephon Diggs is clearly a very strong option. The really interesting one, which I like, and it's not like a sneaky name by any means, but I think ownership will be really low on Gabe Davis. 6.6K is a big boy price tag for him. I can't imagine many people going there. I love getting exposure to Gabe Davis here. On the Baltimore side, yeah, I mean, Lamar and Andrews, I agree. Like these tight ends, man, it just sucks when there's just no upside with a lot of those cheap guys, and I play him a ton too. Andrews has been phenomenal this year. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I want to play guys like that at the tight end position as well. The Baltimore pass catchers, it's tough to really trust these guys, but I definitely want to get some exposure on my Lamar teams.
So nobody's playing Bateman?
Sure. All right, there it is. Is it Bateman?
I like Bateman a lot.
Okay, cool. Then I'm on.
Like
Bateman.
I like if everybody's playing Andrews in the spot, and I like Andrews plenty, but Bateman's the other guy he's going to throw the ball to, and we expect him to throw it. He likes to throw deep. Bateman's that guy. Like, I don't really understand why nobody's on Bateman, because I kind of think Rashard Bateman is the same as Gabriel Davis, only $1,000 cheaper.
I'm in.
All right, let's move on then to the. Let's actually, guys, if you like that take, even if you don't like that take, click the like button. We're trying to get to 1,000 here on the show. Hoop, where are we at? Where are we at with the likes?
Actually,
right
we're getting close. People are making a push. They want the plays, and we're at 839.
Woo, baby, dog. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Let's get 1,000. We're going to get to the plays of the day. It's going to be a good day. We're going to get to the winner circle. But step one is the likes, obviously.
Let's get to 1,000 likes. We appreciate it, guys.
If we could only get the damn bot that keeps posting this stupid little link and letter in there. If he would click the like button each time, we'd be home.
Yeah, someone write a code for this bot where every time the bot chimes in, we get a like.
I'm gonna feel bad if we keep deleting the bot and they actually click the like button. I'm gonna feel bad for that. All right, let's move on to Arizona at Carolina. 43.5 point total. Carolina, they're 1 point favorites. And how bad does Vegas think Arizona is? The Panthers and Baker Mayfield are favored against them. Tony, I should have interest in this game, but I don't, man. Like, this game, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with this Panthers team. Christian McCaffrey's dead to me at this point. Like, I just can't click that button at his price. DJ Moore, Baker Mayfield has straight up killed his spirit. If you guys saw that interview, like, DJ Moore is just, he looks like a hostage, man. Like, I feel more bad for him. And Kyler, I can't pay 7.6 for Kyler on this slate. Marquise Brown, 6.9. I can't do that. Like, I just can't play this game, Tony. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. This game looks, I mean, maybe like the worst game of the slate to me, just as far as plays. I just don't see anything I can go with. I don't trust either team. You got fighting amongst the teams. Kyler, I've talked about how much I hate Kyler. I don't see anything. So I'll speed it up and say I'm out here.
Yeah, I'm out as well. Hoop, are you going to make it 3 for 3?
Yeah, I mean, just two teams I'm super down on. Like I said, Kyler Murray is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. I stand by that. Baker Mayfield's not too far behind him. And like the concerns with Christian McCaffrey, they continue to show up, where I just think Baker's a terrible fit for McCaffrey's fantasy value. And I'm going to, continue on with that. I mean, I will have a little bit of exposure to my guy, Robbie Anderson, maybe a little bit of DJ Moore. I mean, there's been obviously the talk, but he blamed his quarterback essentially, which I do agree with him well. Yeah, I agree with him on that. But, maybe a little bit of those guys. For me, I'm just going to continue to play McCaffrey, which sucks because he's like one of the most fun guys, or was one of the most fun guys to play in DFS when he's healthy, but it's just not going to be the same guy in this offense. Now, yes, he will have Slate winning performances this season, but I just won't be on him.
The chat just said Dortch the torch. I would not be messing with Greg Dortch this week. Rondale Moore coming back for Arizona.
The torch.
Yeah, that's
That's a good name.
But it's a great name for a third string receiver. So I wouldn't be messing with him at all. All right, let's move on to a game that I have more interest in than other people do. The Broncos and the Raiders, 45.5 point total. Vegas, 2.5 point favorites at home. And Tony, this is a game where the total is high. It's a close spread. I looked at this game on my Wednesday show and said, I have no interest. And as the week has gone on, I've said, why aren't people playing this game? So Tony, I'm going to ask you, why aren't people playing this game?
No, I kind of agree with you. Like, it looks like a spot. Denver has looked so bad on offense, but I still hold out hope that with these guys, you got a good running backs, you got good receivers, you got a decent tight end, you got a decent quarterback. I still hold out hope that they can score points. And versus the Raiders, whose defense is terrible, their D-line can't do anything this year. I feel like it's a spot where they can get loose and Russ can really start to let it cook, as we like to say. Sutton and Judy look like really good plays to me with him. Albert O, I'm scarred from last week or 2 weeks ago from Albert O's donut on me, but I still hold out hope. And if you play like a Russ stack, there's easy run backs the other way with guys like Devontae and Jacobs and Waller and Hollins and all these guys. There's easy run backs. So I'm with you. It won't be as high owned either. I don't think a couple of these guys will get ownership. I'm not saying it's going to be unowned because there's only 3 late games too. People do like to keep plays for their late swaps and all their fancy stuff they love to do. But I'm with you. I'm going to have plays from this game for sure.
And you mentioned Russ. I don't mind Russ today, which feels dirty. I don't mind Carr on the other side if you want to save $900. You mentioned Waller. He's my favorite tight end on this whole slate. Like, he saw a few red zone looks last week, and he just straight up dropped him. And I can't imagine that Carr doesn't go right back to him this week. And you mentioned one of my favorite receivers on the entire slate, and that's Jerry Jeudy. This Raiders team just gets torched by slot guys. They're not great against the deep ball, and that's exactly what Russ and Jeudy do. And Jeudy at 5.5, everybody's going to play Sutton, and nobody's going to play Jerry Jeudy. When I think Jeudy, just from a matchup standpoint, is in one of the nut spots out there. So I like this game a lot. Hoop, make it 3 for 3, baby. No, come on, make it 3 for 3.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I
can bring us back because it is a 3 for 3 situation. The unity is still there. I'm in lockstep. I mean, just a lot of plays in this game. I mean, you have Carr. Jacobs finally got some targets last week, and that was the one thing that was worrisome with him, that he wasn't involved in the passing game. But he saw 6 targets last week, 5 catches. If he's going to have a role in the passing game, he's a fantasy asset. And you have Adams, Matt Collins, Darren Waller. I agree. I think Waller's a really good play. I mean, we know Mark Andrews is going to be on. We know TJ Hawkinson's going to be owned at the position. There's not room for, 3 tight ends to get massive ownership. So I think Waller's a great play. And then on the other side of it, I want to trust that the Broncos will do something. I really do, because it has looked rough, man. It has looked rough. And this coach has looked like an absolute moron. But they have pieces like Javonte Williams is good. Sutton, Judy, Russ is going to be super low owned. I will play a little bit. I've talked so much crap about the Broncos situation. I'm going to have some. It's just an appealing game where you got like 7 or 8 viable fantasy options. Those are good games for fantasy. So in on this one for sure.
I love it. Guys, if you like it too, click that like button for us. We're so close to 1,000. We're so close. Hoop, what's the count? Where are we at?
We are currently 895. So I mean, we got
let's move it, guys.
One game left. Oh, you got to really move it. We got
all right. So let's
one more game. So
let's move it, guys. Yeah, if you want those plays of the day, click that like button. Click subscribe. We'd appreciate it, but those likes really help us out. So go ahead and click that. We would appreciate it. And let's move on to the Patriots and the Packers. A 40-point total. The Packers 9.5-point favorites. Hoop, I'm going to start with you because I know you're going to like some of these Packers pieces.
Not necessarily.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're fine out. This could just be an ugly game. I mean, Mac Jones out. The Patriots they're not going to, it's just, there's no way this game is like a shootout type game to me. The piece that I do like is Romeo Doubs. I mean, you're starting to see the connection with Rodgers. I like him, 4.5K. AJ Dillon in play, I think more so on FanDuel though, where, I think the Packers could be playing with the lead and he gets a lot of work. It's tough to go to Aaron Jones at that price tag with the other running backs that we have this week. So yeah, I'm going to be lower on this game. It's going to be mostly Dobbs, and then I'm just not messing with the Patriots with Hoyer at quarterback.
Yeah, I've heard some people talking about Ramondre, and God, I just can't do it. Tony, you said you were trying to get weird at running back this year. How weird are you trying to get?
Not to where I'm playing New England as a 10-point dog. I'm just there's no way I play New England. Dobbs for me. Dobbs looks really good. I mean, really, really good. I know people are using the Devontae comparison, but I don't totally disagree. Devontae in his early days looked a lot like this. The guy is talented. And when people say this, you're not saying he's Devontae right this second. Like, he just looks like a talented guy. He's 4,500. He's the type of guy by the end of the year, I'm pretty sure will be like 6,500. So I think he's a good price. So I'm with Hoop, just Dobbs though. No way. I mean, when there's only 3 late games, it's a little bit of a strategy point, but I just don't, especially when the games are like this, I should clarify. I don't think you need to leave a lot of ownership late. Like, there's just not that much there. Two ugly games. I mean, could be 3 ugly games, honestly. Denver and the Raiders have been bad. I'm going to be in on that, but don't leave a ton of spots. Just the early games are just better this week.
Ooh, we're so close, guys. We are 60 likes away. So go ahead and click those likes. We'd appreciate it. I'm going to say, like, Rodgers, we've seen with him, man, like, he likes his dudes. Like, once he finds somebody that he has that connection with, he just keeps peppering with targets. And I've heard some people talk about, well, Allen Lazard's coming back. Well, you know what? He's had, 3-4 years with Allen Lazard, and it just hasn't happened. Meanwhile, with Dobbs, it is happening. And I think this might be the last chance to get Dobbs at this low price point. You mentioned AJ Dillon. He's somebody that's in my shell lineup right now that I think is probably going to be the odd man out. I'm probably taking him out of that lineup, not because I don't like him, but just because I want to get Dobbs in there and I don't want to play both these guys. I don't want 2 Packers guys on the same lineup especially when I'm not stacking up the other side. So yeah, it's this is a spot where Romeo Dobbs at 4.5K, I think is, do I love it? No. Do I think the Packers are going to be passing it done here? No, but I know Rodgers is going to get his 2 touchdowns. Where are they going? I know Bob Tunnion's got some talk and Tunnion's fine, I guess. But to me, this is Romeo Dobbs. He's the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay right now. And it's not very often you get a chance to have Aaron Rodgers wide receiver 1 for $4,500. So Dobbs is just kind of the guy for me. Guys, we got to click those likes really quick. So let's get moving. We got to get to 1,000. Hoop, how close are we? How close are we if we're giving the plays to the people?
We are currently 47 likes away.
All right, guys, 47 likes away. Before we get to the final tally, Big T, kind of give us your slate overview. Where are you paying up? Where are you saving money? What are you kind of looking at on this slate from a roster construction standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's a good week for the multi-enterers just because I don't see a game stack this week. I know a lot of people have talked about a few of the games. I don't personally think I'll be game stacking, which means it's a lot easier to just build a bunch of teams because you can plug in your volume receivers. You can take some shots at running back. I'm going to go up at tight end today. I already said that with some of the better tight ends. it's just easy to build teams when you're not game stacking. It's way more complicated when you want to get the right pieces in your game stacks and you want to run it back and you want to do all this stuff. It's a lot easier weeks like this, at least for me. I'm not saying I'm not going to do mini stacks in spots. Like we talked about a few of them as we went through, but overall, it's just way easier to build weeks like this. So I'm excited for the week, and I think there's a lot of exploitable spots. So I hate the freaking showdown game tonight too. Chiefs Bucks is, I don't like that very much.
It's a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game.
Oh, well then I definitely don't like it very much if it's that guy.
Just play both running backs. That's my little. I don't know who else. I'm playing both running backs on Showdown tonight, though.
I can't believe we got to 1,000. You're seriously playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yeah, I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but we might lose some likes for me saying that. So
we hit 1K though. I can't believe. To be
1,000?
honest, when you guys said 1K, I never dreamed we would actually hit it.
Hey,
dreams come true.
Yeah, we
Keep
bring
dreaming.
the love on this show, man. You just keep those dreams alive, buddy.
It's a nice number. It looks nice to see that 1K, you know.
Put your little princess
What was
out.
Tambo's line earlier? He had the line. He had me rolling. That Tambo's got all these lines to get the crew going. What did he say? You can type, you can like. You can type, you can like. I about fell out of my chair.
I like Tambo, and I also like the plays of the day. So, Hoop, let's kick it to you, buddy. Who is your rich parents play of the day?
Oh, rich parents play of the day. I'm going to go to Buffalo. I'm going to Gabe Davis. Really like him. I think the ownership's super low. That price tag is uncomfortable. Had the questionable tag, obviously, all week. He's big play upside. I mean, he has multiple touchdown upside. 6.6K, high total game. Give me Gabe Davis, rich parents play of the day.
All right, we got Gabe Davis for Hoop. Tony, workbench play of the day. Let's hear it.
Workbench. I wasn't prepared because I didn't think we'd get to 1,000, but I do have my favorite play. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, and usually I go with cheap guys. So I'll change it up a little bit and go up to, hold on, let me see how much he is here. My man Pittman, 7,200, under 10% owned, I think. He's my favorite play of the slate, and he's not going to be high owned. So I don't know what more. I gave all the stuff earlier in the show, but absolutely love it. I think he goes for 30 plus at 7,200. So you're going to want him today.
All right. And my 37X play of the day is going to be somebody we talked about in the late games that I'm going to be sweating these late games. That's going to be Jerry Jeudy at 5,500.
Oh, baby doll. That's the kind of Crain play I love.
Yeah, I do like that.
Nobody's going to own him. Everybody thinks Sutton is the clear one in this offense. I'm not convinced that Sutton's the clear one here. Jeudy, he's going to line up in a spot where the Raiders significantly struggle. And again, low owned, big play upside. I'm going to be stacking up this game. So Jerry Jeudy is going to be it for me. Hoop, tell the people what's coming up next.
Yeah, I got the Up to Lock show with the boys, breaking down all the news, all the inactives, and I guess if there's any surprise inactives, which I will say the NFL's done a great job. I mean, the information has been out there well ahead of time, so we haven't had too many surprises, which gives the guys more time to talk of roster construction, lineup building processes, and like I said, they'll take you all the way up to lock as they build their teams as well. So head on over to RunPureSports.com and check it out.
All right, that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into The Wood. We love it. And check us out, as Hoop said, on RunPureSports.com. For Tony, for Hoop, I'm Eric. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
What's up, guys? Tambo here with your Week 3 core report. It was another huge week for Run Pure members, as once again, our logos were all over the leaderboard. I myself actually kicked things off, hitting for 38K on the Thursday NFL Showdown slate, and then once again with another 35K on the PGA slate for President's Cup. You can catch all my core plays and attack plan for every NFL slate, as well as for PGA, available to premium members on RunPureSports.com. You Kill Bill Walsh followed up, nailing his CFP core plays for the second week in a row. Shout out to GoBoys18 for hitting over $7,500 on the Friday DK CFP slate. On the NFL main slate, the man shipped big yet again with a $105,000 hit on DraftKings. But once again, it was one of Big T's cores that broke the slate on Monday Night Football. Big T made the unique call of plugging kicker Graham Gano in at captain, opening up salary to load up on studs for a projected low total game. Tony actually called his shot earlier in the day on our free NFL Showdown show.
So what does a kicker have to score to get you there if you play him in the captain, Tony?
I mean, I think to like full ship, you would need 5+ field goals. But in a game like this, you could get 5+ field goals.
By the way, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, what the hell are you thinking? It's free. Just click the red subscribe button on our channel or the bottom right corner of our videos. Big T's strategy paid off big time, shipping literally all the money on DraftKings. Tony won over $280K himself, but he was not alone. RPS members chopped the top prize in the DraftKings Millie Maker, including Jaycom turned $70 into $7K. Derek Bowe turned $45 into over $10K. B-Wall Show 5 did the exact same thing. BP Consi turned $90 into over $10K. Jeffy B123, Noon 7, MVY Littell 1928, Armed Rogery, Hard Work 24/7, and DSF Dom all joined in, hitting over $10K each. Jay Gingery turned $245 into over $12K. Gators S070, Master 24, and APOC 14 hit for $13K each. Guy Nation Matt Guy shipped over $20,000. Taylor Made himself hit for $20,000 as well. Uncle T even got in on the action, shipping over $27,000. And Rubio's Core Plays and Playbook nailed the game script too, and he joined in on the fun, hitting for over $19,000 himself. I cannot stress enough the benefits of being a member at RunPureSports. All it takes is one night like this, and it can set you up for the entire season. And we give you guys the tools and content to make it happen. Head on over to RunPureSports.com to check out all our premium options, including SaberSim packages, and we'll see your screenshots in the Discord soon. Until next week, good luck in your contest, and let's keep running pure.